Chapter 3144. Although the intensity of the lightning tribulation is very high, it hasn't reached the level where it can destroy me. It's just right to temper my body. With this thought in mind, Night Sorrow soared into the sky and accepted the baptism of the lightning tribulation. Speaking of which, he still felt a lot of pressure when facing this level of lightning tribulation, but his gains were also great. His body strength was rapidly increasing. Who is this? What is he trying to do? At this moment, the female cultivator, Bai, who was transcending the tribulation, looked at Night Sorrow with a puzzled expression. Because after Night Sorrow suddenly appeared, the lightning tribulation she suffered was much smaller. This allowed her to be in a better state to face the lightning tribulation energy body that was about to form. But in this mountain range, everyone's goal was the same, and that was to successfully survive until the end. Everyone was an opponent. When Bai saw Night Sorrow tempering his body in the lightning tribulation she attracted, she immediately raised her guard and was affected by the dark aura. She wanted to immediately attack Night Sorrow. And this thought was getting stronger and stronger. However, she knew that she was about to face the lightning tribulation energy body and absolutely could not be impulsive at this time. She had been suppressing the thought of fighting. Just like that, after 3 days, Bai finally led the lightning tribulation energy body and fought with it. At this time, the lightning that attacked Night Sorrow completely disappeared. Night Sorrow, whose body had been greatly strengthened, left satisfied. He knew that if Bai could successfully transcend the tribulation, she would probably turn around and attack him. Not everyone could remain sober and calm in the mountain range. After leaving the area where Bai was transcending the tribulation, Night Sorrow prepared to find a quieter place to recover. Because in the past few days, he had been attacked by lightning and suffered some injuries, which needed to be healed. However, Night Sorrow sat in a quiet valley and had just rested for a while when a sense of uneasiness suddenly rose in his heart. That feeling of panic made him feel very uncomfortable. He opened the sea serpent's eye to observe his surroundings but did not see anything unusual. He could not help but wonder, what's going on? Brother Night Sorrow, what's wrong with you? Noticing that something was wrong with Night Sorrow, Bai Sanren immediately asked. I don't know why I'm panicking. It feels like I'm being stared at by an ancient beast. Feels very dangerous. Night Sorrow opened his mouth and expressed his feelings. There doesn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary around here. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Forbidden Breaking Hammer and Little Seven spoke in unison. Although they were not released, they could still sense a certain range. But just like Night Sorrow, there was no problem at all. At this time, Qin Xingyun's wife Yang Fan suddenly said, Benefactor. The danger that existed. Could it be that he is stronger than us and can sense us but we can't sense him? Or should I say we can't sense that far away? There were many experts in the fog region, and they were much stronger than in the eternal supreme world. This was because the civilization in the fog had never been interrupted, and the eternal supreme world had gradually been reborn from the destruction. She knew that there were many insufferably powerful experts in the foggy area. If Night Sorrow was being targeted by such an expert, it was normal that he couldn't sense the other party. That's possible. Hearing Qin Fan's words, Night Sorrow's thoughts suddenly became clear. He instantly understood. It was very likely that there was an existence that he couldn't fight against that was observing him. That was why he felt uneasy. In fact, his judgment was correct. After Yi Shang parted ways with Lin Dongqing and the others, Elder Su, who was worried that Lin Dongqing would secretly attack Yi Shang, immediately sent a voice transmission to one of the vice deans of Lu Tian Academy and told him about it. At this time, it was the vice dean who was observing him from afar. This little guy seems a little strange. But what's strange about him even I can't tell. Vice Dean Ji Xian observed for a while and said to Elder Su. Because he was currently in the Lu Tian Academy and was not at the scene at all. Oh, Vice Dean, what do you mean? Is there something wrong with his background? Elder Su immediately asked after hearing Vice Dean Ji Xian's words. His aura. His aura is a little strange. I'll have to see him to determine what's strange about it. Vice Dean Ji Xian said and continued, if he can successfully advance, bring him to see me. Yes. Elder Su nodded and continued, what if Supervisor Lin Dongqing doesn't agree? Lin Dongqing is talented, but he's too arrogant. Ignore him. After Vice Dean Ji Xian finished speaking, there was no more sound. At this time, Night Sorrow slowly heaved a sigh of relief and said, that sense of danger just now is gone. That's good. Bai Sanren heard and immediately relaxed. Night Sorrow was not the only one who was nervous just now. His friends in the grotto heaven were all worried as well. After all, they were bound together for good or ill. I can't completely relax yet. I think this matter is not simple. It's very likely related to whether I can sneak into the Lu Tian Academy. Night Sorrow thought for a while. The powerful existences around the Lu Tian Academy should all be from the Lu Tian Academy. He guessed that the person who was scrutinizing him should be a big shot in the academy. Upon hearing this, Bai Mei Sanren nodded and said, "Indeed, it might be the higher-ups from the Lu Tian Academy who are scrutinizing you. It should be. But I'm not sure if they can see through my identity in the Eternal Supreme Realm. If they do, I'll definitely die." Night Sorrow continued to transmit his voice. This matter was a wake-up call for him. He began to secretly think of a way to deal with it. Although he had the ancient coffin protecting him, he did not believe that the ancient coffin could resist the experts behind the Lu Tian Academy. Therefore he had to think of a foolproof plan. "I finally found you. How dare you take advantage of me during my tribulation?" Just as Night Sorrow was thinking, a feminine voice suddenly came from above the valley. It was Bai Yu, who had just succeeded in her tribulation. "You succeeded in transcending the tribulation so quickly?" Seeing that it was Bai Yu who had just transcended her tribulation, Yi Chang stood up in confusion. He felt that it had only been a short while since he entered the valley. In terms of time, it was about 20 breaths. Logically speaking, it was impossible for her to succeed in her tribulation in such a short period of time. Is it very fast to successfully pass the Heavenly Supreme Tribulation in 3 days? Bai Yu, who was floating in the void, had the aura of a Heavenly Supreme around her. She looked coldly at Night Sorrow and said, "I'll let you be the sacrifice for me to become a Heavenly Supreme. You've just succeeded in your tribulation. I advise you to stabilize your cultivation. Otherwise you might lose more than you gain." Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's Eye to observe Bai Yu. He found that although she had advanced to Heavenly Supreme, her aura was a little weak and not stable at all. He was not afraid of such an opponent. At the same time, he judged that the valley he was in was a little special. In terms of time, it was very likely that it was not the same as the outside world. Chapter 3145. If that wasn't the case, the timing didn't match at all. It was impossible for the other party to defeat the Thunder Calamity Energy clone and become a Heavenly Sovereign in just a few moments. In other words, there might be a time formation in the nearby valley that he couldn't see through. However, he obviously didn't have the energy to study it now. Bai Yuan had already attacked him. "You're just a lower earthly sovereign and you want to fight me? Dream on." Bai Yuan looked insufferably arrogant in front of Night Sorrow. She didn't take him seriously at all. In her opinion, Night Sorrow just had a strong body and shouldn't have any strength. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen to run away when he was fighting against the Thunder Calamity Energy clone. "I've let you go this time. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Night Sorrow said disdainfully as he fought back with his golden heavenly halberd. She might be the first cultivator to become a heavenly sovereign. His true strength was enough to fight against an ordinary heavenly sovereign. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of her. Boom. When Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd and Bai Yuan's dual blades collided, there was an earth-shattering sound. The two of them retreated to a certain distance. This female cultivator is not ordinary. She's much stronger than an ordinary heavenly sovereign. However, I can still deal with her. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow determined that Bai Yuan's strength was not far from Heavenly Sovereign and Ling's. He transmitted his voice to Bai Mei Sanren and the others, telling them not to worry. If he hadn't strengthened his body, he would have been completely suppressed. However, with the enhancement of his body's strength, Night Sorrow could engage in close combat with her, even though his overall strength was inferior. While Night Sorrow was thinking of a countermeasure, Bai Yuan was surprised. She knew that Night Sorrow's body was strong, but she didn't expect him to have such strong strength. This proved that their divine core strength wasn't very different. Although she had some advantages, she didn't have an overwhelming advantage overall since they were on the same level. Zhongyu thought to himself, although his strength is not bad, his prowess is too weak. His divine yuan qi is definitely not as strong as mine. I'll just casually fight him for a while and exhaust his divine yuan qi, then I'll be able to kill him easily. Under the influence of the black aura, Bai Yu became extremely bloodthirsty, but her basic battle instincts were still present. Following his plan, he began to fight Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow chose to engage in close combat with Bai Yu. Bai Yu was very cooperative and had no intention of using any of its ultimate techniques. He began to compete with Night Sorrow in terms of God origin energy. However, after fighting for a while, something that Bai Yu and Night Sorrow did not expect happened. They had only fought for about 20 breaths, and they all felt that something was wrong. At the same time he realized that his dantian was almost empty. Not good. This mountain valley is extremely mysterious. After fighting for just 20 breaths of time, I already feel like I've used up all my energy. It was even more exhausting than fighting for 3 days and 3 nights. His dantian was already empty. Undone, how are your injuries? This time, I'm afraid I'll need your help again. The Night Sorrow, who discovered that something was wrong, already understood what was going on. He prepared to summon the Chaos Heavenly Crystal Beast out immediately. This was his battle pet. Summoning it out to fight was not against the rules. As for Baimei Sanrin and the rest, if they were summoned out, it would count as Night Sorrow cheating. And however, the Chaos Heavenly Crystal Beast who received the voice transmission said weakly, "The frequency of your battle is seriously too fast. I haven't recovered at all and completely don't have the strength to fight." Alright. I'll think of a way myself. But if this female cultivator has more divine essence than me, then it'll be dangerous this time. The current Night Sorrow had the thought of summoning the ancient coffin out. However, summoning it once, he discovered that his divine essence power was not enough and did not summon it out at all. This isn't easy to handle. The Night Sorrow, who was suspended above the void, immediately felt his heart turn cold. Currently, for him to be able to fly in midair, it was not relying on divine essence power at all, but relying on his body. But at this time he discovered that Bayu's face already had a look of horror. Night Sorrow immediately understood. Although this Bayu did not expend all like him, the exhaustion was definitely severe. The Night Sorrow, who already did not have much combat strength, laughed at this time and said, "Ha! You indeed fell for it. Is my array formation still strong enough?" After all, it was Night Sorrow who came to this valley first. He felt that saying so at this time, Bayu would definitely fall for his empty fort stratagem. In this valley, the rate of divine essence power consumption was simply horrifying. Originally, he who still had roughly 10% divine essence power, in the process of transmitting voice to the Chaos Heavenly Crystal Beast, it was completely exhausted. Even flying was relying on his body itself. This feeling was too unbearable. "Turns out that you deliberately lured me here. Despicable." The current Bayu, the divine essence power consumption within her body was similarly very horrifying. As she spoke, she already did not dare to attack anymore. Furthermore, she could feel that the divine essence power within her dantian was about to be completely exhausted right away. Cursing a sentence, she flew out of the valley. So close. If she used the last trace of divine essence power to display an ultimate art just now, I definitely can't withstand it. Night Sorrow looked at the Bayu who flew away, secretly feeling some lingering fear. The other party was a genius after all. After advancing to Heavenly Supreme, her divine essence power was indeed a little more robust than his. It was just that, at the critical moment, she was frightened by him and fled in defeat. Otherwise, the one who lost this time might really be Night Sorrow. It's still you who can keep your composure. If I expended all of it, I can't be so calm no matter what. Baimei Sanrin transmitted with a smile. Regarding the matter of Night Sorrow scaring Bayu away, he and Qin Qingyun and the rest were all very impressed. This valley is too special. Not only is the time different from the outside world, divine essence power consumption is also very horrifying when fighting. Absolutely can't stay for long. Finally, Night Sorrow said a word and chose a direction, immediately leaving the valley. Not long after leaving, Night Sorrow heard Bayu, who was not far away, emitting a scream. It should be that Bayu encountered other cultivators under the situation where she expended all of it. It seemed like she was being ravaged. If the cultivator she encountered was only vicious and merciless, I'm afraid that after killing him, he'll come and find me immediately. After analyzing the situation, Yi Shan consumed a few pills to recover his primordial spirit energy. He hid in a cave and began to recover. He was clear that it was absolutely impossible to wander around under the situation where his divine essence power was depleted. At this time, with Bayu and the male cultivator who ravaged her as a shield, the safest place in front of him was in front of him. Roughly an hour later, Bayu's screams completely disappeared, and at this time, Night Sorrow also recovered. He had just recovered when a thunderous roar sounded out in the void. After listening to the show for so long, you should also come out and fight, right? Very clearly, this was the other party preparing to continue fighting with Night Sorrow after ravaging Bayu to death. Stealing incense. Chapter 3146. Another opponent who has just become a heavenly sovereign. Night Sorrow looked over and used the eye of the sea serpent to see that it was a cultivator with a human body and a dragon body. At this moment he was still in a state of excitement. Seeing that Night Sorrow was sizing him up, he sneered, "Ha! Playing with a female cultivator has consumed a lot of divine origin energy. I can eat you to make up for it." "Eat me? How arrogant of you. Why don't I break your dog head?" Night Sorrow took out the golden heavenly halberd. He, who had completely recovered his divine origin energy, did not hesitate to use the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique. He knew that with his current realm, it was still difficult to fight against a heavenly sovereign. Therefore he had to go all out. Stubborn? She was stubborn just now, but wasn't she completely conquered by me in the end? A sinister and disdainful smile appeared on Long Haoyin's face. In his opinion, although a lower earthly sovereign like Night Sorrow should have some ability, he was definitely not his match. "You only took advantage of her depleted divine origin energy. Come, let me see if you really have the strength." Yi Shang roared and unleashed the Qingshen godly spear technique to attack. "How dare you be so brave when you can't even withstand a single blow?" Long Haoyin said contemptuously in the face of Night Sorrow's attack. Then he took out a long spear that was shining with a yellow light. He did not use any unique skills and attacked Night Sorrow. "You don't even use any unique skills. Aren't you being too arrogant?" Seeing that Long Haoyin did not even use any unique skills, Night Sorrow sneered. At the same time he increased the strength of his attack. Boom, boom, boom. After several consecutive confrontations, Night Sorrow had the upper hand. "If that's all you have, you're definitely not that female cultivator's match." After Night Sorrow gained the upper hand, he had the intention to be unforgiving and continuously suppressed him. This was the essence of the Qingshen Divine Spear technique. It was continuous and had a strong explosive power, but the consumption was a little high. "If I can kill her, I can naturally torture you." Long Sidian bellowed in disdain before he completely ignited the power of his bloodline. After burning his bloodline power, his arms and neck were covered in scales. In the blink of an eye, the aura around him also increased by quite a bit. Cloud-gathering waterspout. After Long Sitian's strength increased, he immediately unleashed his clan's lost skill. In an instant the color of the sky changed and strong winds blew. This caused the sand and gravel on the ground to fly up and form a huge vortex. After the vortex was formed, it surrounded Long Sidian as if it had merged with him. With great momentum, it attacked Night Sorrow. Divine Origin Trapping Array. Dragon Roar and Phoenix Cry. Facing Long Haoyin's attack, Night Sorrow did not continue to use the golden heavenly halberd. Instead he trapped his opponent and used the dragon's roar and Phoenix's cry. Together with the tornado they were trapped in a sealed space. Not only was Long Haoyin's attack interrupted, he could even feel his divine soul being shaken. It made him feel very uncomfortable. "Do you like trapping others? Very good. Heavenly Dragon Umbrella." Long Haoyin, who felt that his divine soul was damaged, immediately took out a secret treasure from his spatial artifact and threw it into the air. The Heavenly Dragon Umbrella was summoned and immediately began to spin. At the same time, countless silver threads shot out. After these silver threads appeared, they quickly formed a net and attacked Night Sorrow from all directions. Long Haoyin wanted to use this net to trap Night Sorrow inside and then attack. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. At this moment, Night Sorrow was using the Eternal Life Amplification Spear that had just been strengthened recently. When Night Sorrow learned this spear, its grade was not high. At this moment, when he used it, the principle was similar to when he used it in the past, but the attributes were completely different. It was not weak. On the contrary, the moment he used it, Long Haoyin felt as if time had stopped. He was temporarily paralyzed. Not good. Why can't I break free? While Long Haoyin felt that he was paralyzed, the speed of the net in the void was also much slower. It looked as if it was in slow motion. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow naturally dodged the net easily and stabbed at him with the golden heavenly halberd. Stop. At this moment, Long Haoyin seemed to be immersed in an eternal nightmare and could not control his body at all. He could only wait quietly for Night Sorrow's attack. "You are inferior to her." Seeing that Long Haoyin was frozen by the Eternal Life Amplification Spear, Night Sorrow coldly roared and stabbed the golden heavenly halberd into Long Haoyin's dantian. "Impossible. This is impossible." By the time Long Haoyin could move, his dantian had already been crippled. "Nothing is impossible. You are inferior to her and your strength is much weaker. Not only is her strength stronger than you, she is also stronger than me. But she is defeated in terms of temperament. Night Sorrow said, and directly destroyed Long Haotian's divine soul. He did not give him any chance to counterattack. Yishang knew very well that there were no good people in this mountain range. After killing him, he took Long Haotian's spatial device. Before Night Sorrow could check, he sensed that someone was approaching. He, who had consumed a lot of energy, did not want to continue fighting. Therefore he used his movement skill and rushed into the distance. After leaving a distance, Night Sorrow looked back with the sea serpent's eye. It was another cultivator who had just become a heavenly supreme. He could not help but complain, "I'm really unlucky. I've met all the people who have become heavenly supremes. I wonder when this evil will be over. The one who tied the bell should untie it. I guess that the curse can only be lifted by killing that dancing woman, right?" After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xiaowu said with some uncertainty, "Even if it's true, it won't be easy to find that dancing woman. I think it's better to find a place and quietly wait for all kinds of opponents. I think there aren't many cultivators left in the mountain range." After saying this, Night Sorrow landed on a hillside and sat on a blue stone under a huge tree to recover his divine origin energy. However, his divine origin energy had not completely recovered. A familiar figure appeared in front of him. This familiar figure was the dancing woman they had just mentioned. At this time, the dancing woman had also advanced to the heavenly supreme level. Seeing that Yi Shang was recovering, a cruel smile appeared on the face of the swaying woman, who was floating in the air. She said, "I've finally found you. The descent of all evil can end here. I didn't expect that you would also advance to the heavenly supreme level." Originally, Night Sorrow and the dancing woman were evenly matched. Now that the other party had advanced to the heavenly supreme level, he felt that it would be difficult for him to fight against her. After saying this, he directly activated the 33 Heavens battle secret technique and burned his bloodline power to use his movement skill to run wildly. "Wanna run? Can you run?" At this time, the dancing woman was like a ghost floating in the void, but her speed was not slow at all. With a sneer, he chased after her. "I want to talk to more like-minded people about becoming a god. Follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find confidence. Stealing incense." Chapter 3147. In the process of chasing, the dancing woman's eyes kept shooting out black rays. These black rays carried a strong corrosive aura, which caused Night Sorrow a lot of trouble. Because he couldn't use the power of merit, after being hit by the light, a small area of his body quickly festered. If it weren't for Night Sorrow's high physical strength, not only would his skin fester, but it would also penetrate deep into his bones. "This can't go on. I'm no match for her in battle, and I'm continuously attacked from a distance when I escape. I might as well lure her to the heavenly sovereign just now." The way of life for the time being, he was no match for the dancing woman, but Night Sorrow wasn't depressed because of this. He knew that the other party was also a genius-level figure. With a gap of a whole realm, it was normal for him to be no match for her. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow lured the dancing woman to the place where he had just met the heavenly sovereign. "I can make use of the eye technique she's using to attack that heavenly sovereign." While running in that direction, Night Sorrow thought of a countermeasure. At this time, the dancing woman had been attacking him with her eye technique, so he would lure her to attack the heavenly sovereign just now. Sigh. There are so many geniuses in this foggy area. There aren't many heavenly sovereigns in the entire eternal supreme world. They're popping up like they're free. The great calamity has begun. How can our eternal supreme world fight against them? When Night Sorrow fled to the expected location, Baimei Sanrin in the space grotto heaven said very pessimistically. Ever since he came to the foggy area, he felt like he had suffered a blow. The overall strength of this foggy area was thousands of times stronger than the eternal supreme world. The two sides were not on the same level at all. There's hope as long as we're alive. Don't we still have time to grow? Hearing Baimei Sanrin's words, Night Sorrow responded and continued, "In terms of the number of experts, our eternal supreme world is definitely no match for the foggy area. But if a few Supreme Realm experts appear among us and suppress the other party in terms of absolute combat power, then there's hope for survival. It is precisely because of this that I hope to quickly find a suitable body for senior longevity." At this point, Night Sorrow no longer avoided Baimei Sanrin and the others when talking about supreme longevity. After Night Sorrow finished, Baimei Sanrin sighed and continued, "It's easier said than done. It's not easy, but hope hasn't been cut off. This proves that there's still hope. The path of cultivation had always been one that defied the heavens. So what if the chances are small? While using his movement technique to escape, Yishan continued to talk to Wanderer Whitebrow. To him, as long as he was alive, the thoughts in his heart would never be severed. You're quite fast. Just as Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin were communicating, Dancing Lady, who had been chasing after them, gradually became angry. This was because she realized that although she was stronger than Night Sorrow, their speed was about the same. Although she could use her eye techniques to constantly exhaust Night Sorrow, she couldn't completely catch up to him. This made her very uncomfortable and angry. I should be faster than you. Night Sorrow originally didn't want to mock her, but now he realized that the two of them were very close to the Heavenly Supreme in front of them. The Heavenly Supreme in front of them had probably discovered their existence. However, the Heavenly Supreme in front of them was obviously hiding in the dark. Dancing Lady probably hadn't discovered his existence at all. Therefore, he deliberately lured Dancing Lady to launch an even fiercer attack. What's the use of being fast? Without strength you can only wait for death. Thousand Phantom Light. Still unable to catch up to Night Sorrow, Dancing Lady was completely furious. She directly summoned thousands of eyeballs and used these eyeballs to launch a fierce attack. This was the race's unique skill that she had awakened after advancing to the Heavenly Supreme level. It was very powerful. Good. The more powerful the better. Seeing that Dancing Lady had launched such a powerful attack, Night Sorrow immediately used an even more powerful movement technique to dodge. Although some of the Thousand Phantom Light bombarded him, he knew that if he could find an opportunity to use the power of merit, he would definitely be able to recover quickly. Therefore he wasn't too worried. As for most of the attacks in the Thousand Phantom Light, they were all aimed at the Heavenly Supreme in the dark. Bastard. If you want to fight, then fight. How dare you attack me? Although the Heavenly Supreme who was attacked by the Thousand Phantom Light dodged most of the attacks, he was still completely furious. After all, in the mountain range he was extremely excited. The desire to fight was extremely strong, and he couldn't control his fighting spirit at all. The one I want to kill is him. This has nothing to do with you. Stay away. Dancing Lady glanced at the Heavenly Supreme in front of her and said coldly. Then she continued to attack Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow simply stopped running and started to fight with Dancing Lady. The two of them looked as if they didn't care about the nearby Heavenly Supremes at all. This completely enraged Ape Tianlai. He roared unhappily, "Do the two of you really think that I, Ape Tianlai, am easy to bully? Die all of you." After roaring, he attacked Night Sorrow and Dancing Lady. Very quickly. The battle became a fierce battle between the three of them. Both Ape Tianlai and Dancing Lady were severely affected by the dark aura. They fought very crazily and didn't care about their targets at all. Night Sorrow maintained a certain level of rationality. His goal was very clear, and that was to protect himself. Under the support of this tactic he basically only defended and didn't attack. Gradually Ape Tianlai and Dancing Lady's guard against him became much lower. Later on the attacks they used against him became much weaker. This Night Demon is quite cunning. It's just that his strength is too weak. He can't fight against the other two and will be killed in the end. As the battle between Ape Tianlai and Dancing Lady unfolded, Lin Dongqing, who was watching through the bronze mirror, had a look of disdain. He despised Night Sorrow's way of protecting himself. At this moment, Elder Su smiled and said, "In the mountains, being able to maintain one's rationality is also a kind of strength. Although he's not as strong as the other two, his thinking in battle is clearly clearer than the other two. This is very rare. After all, he's only a lower earthly sovereign. And our Lu Tian Academy hasn't recruited a cultivator of this level. If he can advance, it'll be a good story." Indeed. And he's not far from the final advancement. At this moment there are still 15 cultivators left in the mountains. And there are also fierce battles in the other areas. As long as he continues to persevere, he'll soon advance. Elder Murong, who was standing at the side, also said. At this point in time the preliminaries were nearing their end. Following the progress of a few battles, the 10 people who could successfully advance were about to be born. I didn't expect him to take advantage of this loophole. After Elder Murong finished speaking, Lin Dongqing looked at the other bronze mirrors. At this moment, Night Sorrow's condition was considered good. If there were no accidents he would most likely advance. This made him very unhappy and he secretly thought of a countermeasure. Stealing incense. Chapter 3148. That's it. The problem now is that if this continues, Night Demon will advance because the others have been eliminated. If I mediate the battles in the other areas, Then he will have to fight to the end. This lowly lower earthly sovereign will definitely fall. After thinking for a while, Lin Dongqing quickly came up with a countermeasure. However, before Lin Dongqing could execute his plan, there was a change in the battle. At this moment, under the continuous attacks of Dancing Lady, Ape Tianlai completely exploded. As he roared into the sky, his body's strength instantly increased by nearly 10 times. He held the giant rod in his hand and crazily smashed it at Dancing Lady. It's a good thing that such a strong attack isn't aimed at me. Otherwise, with Dancing Lady's interference, I wouldn't be able to withstand it. Seeing Ape Tianlai's powerful attack, Night Sorrow said with lingering fear. At this moment, Dancing Lady wasn't having a good time either. After Ape Tianlai exploded, coupled with Night Sorrow's interference, it was very difficult for her to deal with him. Although Night Sorrow's strength was slightly weaker than hers and Ape Tianlai's, it was definitely not something the two of them could ignore. Die. The berserk Ape Tianlai completely ignored him and continued his frenzied attacks. His crazy appearance was like an ordinary person going crazy. It looked a little evil. Obviously, this was the effect of the fog in the mountain range. Night Sorrow thought for a while and felt that if he got rid of Dancing Lady and used his speed to get rid of Ape Tianlai, he could successfully save his life. Thus, he directly shot the godly shot at Dancing Lady. The difference between this shot and the previous one was that its attack power was much stronger, and the attributes it contained had reached the level of a heavenly sovereign. Therefore, even a heavenly sovereign like Dancing Lady would be threatened. You're forcing me to use my true strength. Facing Ape Tianlai and Night Sorrow's attacks, Dancing Lady was completely enraged. As she roared, she summoned thousands of eyeballs again. They floated in the void. These eyeballs seemed to be even more evil than before. This might have something to do with her advancing into a heavenly sovereign. Seeing Dancing Lady summon her eyeballs again, Night Sorrow suddenly felt his hair stand on end, and a bad premonition flashed in his heart. Kill. 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 Yuan Tianlai, on the other hand, seemed to have gone completely berserk. He didn't care about anything else and just kept attacking Hasa Woman. 1. Evil. Descent. 1. At this moment, Dancing Woman once again used Descent of All Evil. This time, Night Sorrow discovered that her evil intentions had already disappeared without a trace. Even if he wanted to hide, he didn't know where to hide. He could only flee into the distance. Trying to escape? How could it be that easy? Divine Origin Trapping Array. Seeing that Night Sorrow wanted to escape, a strange smile appeared on Dancing Woman's face. He cast a Divine Essence Trapping Array in the direction Night Sorrow had fled. This move was very similar to the Divine Essence Trapping Array that Night Sorrow executed before, but the power was slightly weaker. It could only stop Night Sorrow for a moment. It was at this moment that Night Sorrow felt as if he had been hit by the descent of all evil once again. Looks like he was going to be plagued by bad luck again. However, what's going on with her Divine Essence Trapping Array? After being hit by the descent of all evil again, Night Sorrow was relatively calm. However, he couldn't figure out why Dancing Woman could use the Divine Essence Trapping Array. Moreover, if she could use it, why didn't she trap him back then? That way he wouldn't have been able to escape. It's very strange. Why can I use your technique? Let me tell you, my eye technique can copy anyone's ultimate skill. Dancing Woman clearly saw the doubts in Night Sorrow's heart. As she roared, she said, "As for why I didn't trap you just now, it's because I wanted to use the two of you to stimulate my potential. Looks like I did it. Transform." Just as Dancing Woman roared the word transform, she immediately transformed from her human form into the appearance of an eyeball. This eyeball looked like an extremely evil black hole. Being stared at by it, Night Sorrow immediately felt very awkward. At this moment, Ape Tianlai had been hit by the descent of all evil in his berserk state. His aura had weakened a lot. However, his aura had become even more berserk, but it was difficult for him to attack Dancing Woman's body. He could only attack the thousands of small eyeballs in the void. That blockhead seems to have gone crazy. Why is his attack so messy? In the Space Grotto Heaven, seeing that Ape Tianlai's attack was still powerful but messy, Little Seven immediately complained. Hearing Little Seven's complaint, Night Sorrow said, "I think he must be in a berserk state and has been completely affected by the black gas in the mountain range. Therefore he can't control himself. He's completely lost. Then what should we do? If he's killed, you definitely won't be able to escape from Dancing Woman." Little Seven said worriedly. "It's not that I can't escape from her, but I might have to use the ancient coffin." As Night Sorrow replied, he thought about how to save Ape Tianlai. After all, saving him was equivalent to saving himself. I didn't expect the two of you to be so weak. But since you've stimulated my potential, I'll let you go. I'll leave your corpses intact. Soul Eater bewildering light. At this moment, Dancing Woman, who had turned into a black hole, let out a deafening roar. She attacked Night Sorrow and Ape Tianlai at the same time. She believed that under the interference of the descent of all evil, Night Sorrow and Ape Tianlai wouldn't be able to escape from her most powerful technique. And after Whirling Woman attacked, Night Sorrow immediately felt that his life was in danger. Without hesitation, he took out the spatial device with the ancient coffin and used it to block in front of him. This time, Night Sorrow learned his lesson and didn't summon the ancient coffin directly. Boom. Boom. Dancing Woman shot out two beams of Soul Eater bewildering light. One of them landed on Ape Tianlia's body and almost killed him completely. It made him lose his ability to fight and regain his consciousness. After completely regaining his consciousness, Ape Tianlai looked around and thought, "My life is over." According to his judgment, Dancing Woman would definitely kill him and Night Sorrow. There was no suspense. The other beam of Soul Eater bewildering light hit the ring that Night Sorrow had taken out. Because the ancient coffin was in the ring, when it was hit, a large amount of black gas suddenly appeared outside the ring. This black gas completely devoured the Soul Eater bewildering light, causing it to not cause a single ripple. This ancient coffin is indeed powerful. Seeing that the ancient coffin in the spatial ring had directly blocked the Soul Eater bewildering light, Night Sorrow immediately heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, to outsiders, only his spatial ring was powerful, but they couldn't see the existence of the ancient coffin. Seeing that the Soul Eater bewildering light didn't have any effect on Night Sorrow, Dancing Woman said in surprise, "What kind of secret treasure is that? It can actually block my Soul Eater bewildering light." Stealing fragrance. Chapter 3149. It's a secret treasure that you can't break. Night Sorrow looked at Dancing Lady and said word by word. Dancing Lady didn't refute. Instead she said, "I can't kill you, but you can't kill me either." With that, Dancing Lady didn't wait for Night Sorrow to react and fled the scene vigilantly. She was afraid that Night Sorrow's ring could unleash shocking attacks. This worry wasn't without reason. After Dancing Lady left, Night Sorrow heaved a sigh of relief. However, he also knew that his secret had been exposed. He thought to himself that he had suffered a loss this time. At that moment, he saw that Ape Tianlai, who was not far away, had returned to his original form after being attacked. It was a giant ape with a huge body. He looked like a small mountain with a sense of solid strength. There was a hint of confusion in his eyes, which made him look a little strange. Is this because he was hit by the Soul Eater bewildering light? It does feel like he's missing a soul. After sizing up Ape Tianlai, Night Sorrow felt that taking in a heavenly supreme battle pet was definitely better than killing it directly. Therefore, he wanted to make the other party acknowledge him as his master. At that moment, although Ape Tianlia's body was still at the heavenly supreme level, his strength hadn't decreased much. However, his soul had obviously been destroyed and his entire person was a little abnormal. When Night Sorrow wanted to make him acknowledge him as his master, he chose to submit directly. Ape Tianlai? Why does this name sound so familiar? After Ape Tianlai acknowledged him as his master, Night Sorrow learned his name and felt that he had met someone with this name before. However, he didn't have time to be surprised. He left the place and found a hidden valley to treat the other party. After Ape Tianlai swallowed some pills, his body recovered a lot, but his soul was still a little abnormal. Night Sorrow directly put him into his spatial artifact. "I'm afraid ordinary pills won't be able to cure him. I can only try the power of merit and see if it works." Night Sorrow summoned him into his spatial artifact and immediately used his power of merit to treat Ape Tianlai. After being purified by his power of merit, some of the filthy aura on Ape Tianlia's body gradually disappeared, and he slowly regained consciousness. "You saved me but enslaved me?" After regaining consciousness and realizing that he had recognized Night Sorrow as his master, Ape Tianlai immediately roared with mixed emotions. He couldn't accept the reality in front of him. It's not really slavery. We're just fighting side by side. Feel your own aura. Although Yen Tianlai was extremely agitated, Night Sorrow wasn't worried in the slightest in his space paradise. "Me? How could this be? Could it be that you came from outside the fog?" After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Ape Tianlai realized that the black chi surrounding him had disappeared. What replaced it was pure and flawless divine essence energy. This made him very shocked. "Yes, Strictly speaking, all of you are from the eternal supreme world. It's just that your minds have been corroded by the fog. I'm saving you. Night Sorrow said slowly. I know. I have memories of the eternal paragon world. Ape Tianlai thought about it for a moment, then seemed to realize what was going on. He thought about it for a long time. Then he said, in my memories all of my clansmen were killed. The eternal supreme world has been completely destroyed. Almost none of the cultivators survived. Is there still an eternal supreme world? Yes. After several cycles of recuperation, many of the cultivators in the eternal supreme world have grown up again. The strongest is already a heavenly supreme. Moreover, Yen is still alive. Night Sorrow explained the current situation of the eternal supreme world to Ape Tianlai. Then he said, but now the fog is going to attack the eternal supreme world again. The situation is as dangerous as pulling 1,000 caddies. What? I've just woken up from a dream. The eternal supreme world is going to be destroyed again? With the strength of the fog, if they attack the eternal supreme world, we won't be able to resist at all. After being corroded by the fog for so many years, Ape Tianlai had naturally come into contact with many experts in the fog. He knew the difference between the two sides. Protecting the eternal supreme realm is an extremely difficult path to tread. But it doesn't have to be a dead end. If we work hard, there's a chance. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and continued to speak to Ape Tianlai. Not to mention the others, just the 3 great experts in the fog were not people that Yen could deal with alone. How can the eternal supreme world protect itself in the hands of the 3 of them? Ape Tianlai said slowly. To ordinary people, the 3 experts in the fog were godlike existences. They made it impossible for people to even think of fighting against them. You're right. If we want to protect the eternal supreme world, we have to face the 3 experts directly. If we want to defeat them, we have to nurture our own supreme realm experts. Yen alone won't do. Night Sorrow said and then revealed his purpose of entering the Lu Tian Academy. Hearing this, Ape Tianlai frowned and said, hope is as slim as finding a needle in a haystack. It's better than giving up. Night Sorrow said firmly. That was his personality. No matter how difficult the road ahead was, he would not stop and give up. All right. I'm willing to help you, but the dark aura on my body has all disappeared. I shouldn't be able to show myself to others anymore. Ape Tianlai continued. After being calm for so long, he had already accepted the fact that he had recovered and was very grateful to Night Sorrow. However, he felt that he should not be able to walk normally in the fog because that would expose his identity as the eternal supreme world. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, if I can walk normally, so can you. Then he sent Ape Tianlai into the space where the ancient coffin was and said, come and absorb the ancient coffin's aura. You'll be able to recover very quickly. After we enter the academy, we'll fight side by side. To others, I've already been eliminated. From now on, I'll be by your side and fight with you. Ape Tianlai, who was absorbing the black aura, said. Suddenly he thought of something. He said in shock, this ancient coffin of yours, I think I've heard Mia mention it before. What? Mia mentioned it before? What's going on? Night Sorrow immediately asked when he heard this. According to what he said, this ancient coffin is very likely the coffin that buried the world. It seems like there's a ruined world buried inside, which is the world of our previous selves. Yen Tianlai recalled some of the things he had heard before and said slowly, word by word. Coffin that buried the world? Are you sure? Night Sorrow was shocked when he heard the words of the coffin that buried the world. According to his thoughts, this ancient coffin was very likely to contain a fallen supreme realm expert. I'm not sure. Mia was just guessing. Also, I'm not sure if this ancient coffin is the one he mentioned. The coffin that buried the world shook its head and said. But no matter what it said shocked Night Sorrow greatly. Stealing incense. Chapter 3150. If there's really a ruined world buried in the world burial coffin, what would it be like? After Yen Tianlai said that, Night Sorrow started to ponder. He felt that it was hard for him to believe the exact situation inside with his own imagination. But no matter what, he was still shocked. However, he wasn't sure if this had anything to do with their future. It's all a legend. Mia probably doesn't know what's going on either. Let's take it one step at a time. After all, this is your shield for now. Yen Tianlai continued. As his memory continued to recover, he was becoming more and more comfortable with Night Sorrow. At that moment, Night Sorrow introduced Bai Mei Sanren to him. After learning that Bai Mei Sanren used to be Yan's subordinate, Yen Tianlai was very respectful to him, even though his cultivation was high. After all, Yan and Yan Hengshi were the ones who carried the Eternal Supreme World forward. Alright. Do you know Lin Dongqing's background? He's in Lu Tian Academy. What's his background like? Night Sorrow asked. He knew that after Lin Dongqing knew about his secret treasure, he would definitely think of ways to seize it. I'm not sure what his background is in the academy, but the Lin family he's from is one of the big families in the fog. He should be in the top 30. Yin Tianlai said slowly as he recalled. Then Night Sorrow analyzed the situation. Yin Tianlai said, in the academy if you can show strong talent he won't dare to do anything to you. But if you behave properly you'll most likely be dealt with. Alright. For now let's fight to enter Lu Tian Academy. Night Sorrow said and continued to roam the mountain range. About half a month later he met another heavenly supreme opponent. This time with Yin Tianlia's help, Night Sorrow successfully killed him. This ant's luck is really not bad. He actually got lucky and made Yin Tianlai, who was defeated by Whirling Lady, recognize him as his master. But that ring of his is really not ordinary. Lin Dongqing, who was looking at the bronze mirror, had always been hostile to Night Sorrow. He knew that after Yin Tianlai became Night Sorrow's battle pet, there was no doubt that Night Sorrow would advance to the top 10. Even if he wanted to control him it would be difficult, so he didn't care. He was going to wait for Night Sorrow to enter Lu Tian Academy and then find an opportunity to attack him. After Lin Dongqing was done praising him, Elder Su reminded him, there are only 11 people left in the monitoring room. Furthermore, Ape Tianlai had already become the Night Demon's battle pet. Could he announce the end of the competition and give out the rewards? If they continue to fight they'll be killed. Yin, as you say. Lin Dongqing said impatiently and announced the result of the advancement. In the end, the last 10 people who persevered would be selected by Lu Tian Academy and successfully advance to the next round. When these 10 people were brought back to the city, they immediately caused a commotion. Among the crowd, Bao Tuqian and Enling were the ones who paid the most attention to Night Sorrow. Seeing that Night Sorrow had made it to the top 10, Bao Tuqian was so excited that he couldn't speak. He knew that Bao Tuqian City's reputation would rise because of this. Representatives of the cities where the winners are from, please come to the stage to receive your rewards. While Bao Tuqian was excited, Elder Murong suddenly made an announcement on the stage. Hearing that, Bao Tuqian was so excited that he didn't realize what was going on for a long time. At this moment, Night Sorrow said to him telepathically, "My lord, it's time to go to the stage to receive your rewards." Only then did Bao Tuqian wake up from Fan Jin's state of mind. Great. I'm coming. I'm coming. After flying to the stage, Bao Tuqian hugged Night Sorrow in excitement and then received his city reward. Needless to say, Bao Tuqian City would have a bright future after receiving the rewards from Lu Tian Academy. However, after the city rewards were released, things took a turn for the worse. That was because Lin Dongqing was not willing to give out the rewards to the participants. Originally he was going to give most of the rewards to Lin Donghai, but now that Lin Donghai had been killed, he didn't want to give the rewards to anyone else. That also made Elder Su and the others unhappy. Under the persuasion of the 4 elders, Lin Dongqing gave some rewards to Night Sorrow and the others. He kept most of them. Lin Dongqing obviously kept a lot of the rewards. He must have a strong backer in the academy to make it so obvious. Otherwise he wouldn't be so bold. Seeing Lin Dongqing's behavior, Yin Tianlai made a judgment and reminded Night Sorrow to be careful. Because everyone could see that Lin Dongqing was a bold and reckless person. Night Sorrow had a conflict with him, so he would definitely target him. Alright. After the rewards are released, the 10 winners will follow us back to Lu Tian Academy. As for the rest, you're dismissed. Let me remind you that you can't stay here for long unless it's during the selection. Lin Dongqing said coldly when Night Sorrow and Yin Tianlai were talking. He took out a kite. After the kite was taken out, it quickly expanded infinitely until it was the size of a pavilion. Lin Dongqing called the 10 winners and the 4 elders to go up and bring them back to Lu Tian Academy. Lin Dongqing and the 4 elders waited for the kite to fly up before they went inside to rest. Night Sorrow and the other 9 winners stood outside, staring at each other blankly. At this time, Night Sorrow carefully observed the others who had advanced with him. 2 of them had fought with him before. They were the dancing woman and the androgynous male cultivator. Apart from them, no one else had interacted with Night Sorrow before. Among these 10 people apart from Night Sorrow, there were 7 Sky Supremes and 2 half-step Sky Supremes. Compared to them, his cultivation level was really not enough. This also attracted the most attention for Night Sorrow. Everyone knew that every batch of students had to fight side by side and compete with each other to become the strongest. Just like Lin Dongqing, the strongest person would receive all kinds of rewards from the academy. Most of the others looked at Night Sorrow with surprise, but the dancing woman was very wary. She knew that Night Sorrow had a defensive secret treasure that she could not break, so she did not want to fight him head-on. After thinking for a while, the dancing woman sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. "Night Demon. When we enter the academy, the two of us might be able to cooperate. What do you think? If you want to talk about cooperation, shouldn't you first remove the descent of all evil on me and Yen Tianlai?" Hearing the dancing woman's voice transmission, Night Sorrow replied. At this time, the dancing woman observed Night Sorrow and said, "The effect of the descent of all evil on you has long been removed. As for the one on him, I can help remove it. But we'll have to wait until after we enter the academy. I want to talk about ascension to godhood with more like-minded people. I want to follow advanced reading literature on WeChat, talk about life and find friends." Stealing fragrance. Chapter 3151. The descent of all evil effect on me has been lifted? Are you sure? Night Sorrow asked after Dancing Lady finished speaking. Hearing this, Dancing Lady replied, "The first time, the descent of all evil effect on you has been lifted automatically. The second time, I just lifted it for you. Sense your body, it's completely different from when you were plagued by bad luck." Good. At least you're sincere. As for whether we cooperate or not, we'll talk about it when we get to the academy. Night Sorrow sensed his body and used the sea serpent's eye to look. When he found that he was indeed fine, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. After all, if he entered the academy in a state of bad luck, he might encounter something unlucky. If his identity was exposed because of such a small matter, it would not be worth it. Good. During the preliminaries, battles are all for advancement. It's good that you don't hold a grudge. Seeing that Night Sorrow did not directly refuse, Dancing Lady felt that there was still a chance for cooperation and continued to respond in a friendly manner. The preliminaries battles can be overturned. However, if you enter the academy and have any schemes against me, I won't be able to forgive you. In this regard, Night Sorrow replied and sent a voice transmission to Ape Tianlai. "It's a bit hard on you, but if you enter the academy with me, you can also get a lot of resources. We are all people of the eternal supreme world. It's too polite of you to say this." Ape Tianlai said and suddenly asked, "By the way, my race is considered to be quite a powerful force in the foggy area. Can you purify all of them? After all, we are all people of the eternal supreme world. It's too tragic to be enslaved by the fog area forever. If they are willing to cooperate, I can naturally purify everyone. But if there are experts among them who don't cooperate, I can't force them," Night Sorrow said. Ape Tianlia's words obviously gave Night Sorrow a hint of inspiration. In this fog area, including the big families, basically everyone was from the eternal supreme world. If they were purified, they would remember their past and present lives. Except for those who took the initiative to join the fog area, basically all of them would fight for the eternal supreme world. After all, for cultivators, the loyalty of their country was still very important. If Night Sorrow could gather as many elite fighters as possible, it would be a huge boost to the eternal supreme world. Very good. But from the looks of it, my strength is still a little weak. Once I break through to become a Sky Supreme, I'll be able to do it. The people in the foggy area would never have thought that I could do this. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow suddenly felt more confident about the future. The strongest person in our clan, the old clan leader, is already an upper heavenly sovereign. He is not far from reaching the half-step to supreme stage. At present, I don't have the confidence to persuade him. Let's wait until our strength increases to a certain level before we try again. No matter what, the Star Ape clan will not be slaves forever. While Night Sorrow was pondering this question, Yen Tianlai said firmly, "Good. A single spark can start a prairie fire. I hope that through our own efforts, we can make the eternal supreme realm stronger little by little and have the ability to continue existing." Sensing Ape Tianlia's excitement, Night Sorrow continued to transmit his voice. However, just as they were talking, they arrived at the Heaven-Splitting Academy. At this moment, Lin Dongqing said, "I'll bring you to see the 3 vice principals. Before that, I want to make it clear to you that the Heaven-Splitting Academy has strict rules and clear hierarchy. At present, you are just the most trashy existence. No matter if you were a dragon or a tiger or a leopard in the past, you need to tuck your tail between your legs and behave yourself. Do you understand?" "Yes, understood." After Lin Dongqing finished speaking, The androgynous male cultivator responded directly. As for the others, they all remained silent. No one bothered with Lin Dongqing. Those who could enter this place were all arrogant and unruly people. Of course they would listen to him. You'll suffer. Almost no one pandered to him. Lin Dongqing's face immediately darkened. Then he led the 4 elders and the 10 newly promoted students and slowly flew into the Heaven-Splitting Academy's gate. The Heaven-Splitting Academy's gate was just like the Southern Heavenly Gate. It looked very majestic. From where the gate was, one could clearly feel the existence of a formation. What a powerful formation. This should have been set up by a top expert. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe for a while. He realized that the things contained in the formation were not at the heavenly supreme level. He could not understand it at all. He secretly judged that these formations should be at the supreme level. Based on this, he guessed that these formations should have been set up by those 3 people. Of course, these formations should have been set up by Supremacy Mia. Upon hearing Night Sorrow's words, Dancing Lady immediately spoke. Supremacy Mia? Looks like this Heaven-Splitting Academy is indeed a core area of the foggy area. After Dancing Lady finished speaking, Night Sorrow immediately understood that these formations were set up by Mia. He once again confirmed that this Heaven-Splitting Academy was not simple. At the same time, he was a little worried that Mia and the other experts would appear in the Heaven-Splitting Academy and see through it. After all, supreme-level experts were completely different from heavenly supremes. Zhao Fu continued to speak to Hasa woman. To be honest, he did not know much about these things. Of course. The 3 deans behind the Heaven-Splitting Academy are the legendary 3 sovereigns, which are also the 3 supreme supremes. Naturally, it's one of the core areas of the foggy area. Whirling Woman said naturally. At this moment, Yin Tianlai sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. This Dancing Lady seems to be a native of the foggy area. Their race did not look like this at first. It was only after the foggy area was ruled by the 3 supreme supremes that they gradually transformed into human form. You have to be careful with her. Don't try to purify her with the power of merit. Don't worry. Night Sorrow replied. Then he chatted with Dancing Lady about the Heaven-Splitting Academy again. After talking for a while, Night Sorrow realized that everyone, including Dancing Lady and the androgynous male cultivator, basically had connections in the academy. He was the only one who had fought his way in alone. It seems like it's really not easy to survive if I don't find someone to ally with. Night Sorrow thought to himself after entering the Heaven-Splitting Academy with Lin Dongqing. However, he knew that to him, the first round of entering the Heaven-Splitting Academy was the selection. The second round was definitely not about how to survive in the academy. It was about how to pass the inspection of the 3 vice deans and successfully enter the Heaven-Splitting Academy. Although the 3 vice deans were not supreme-level experts, they were all half a step to the supreme level and had lived for many years. Their eyesight was definitely not something a newly ascended heavenly supremes could compare to. Therefore, he was a little worried that these people would see something. Stealing fragrance. Chapter 3152. Don't worry too much. It's been many years since a cultivator from the eternal supreme world appeared in the fog area. As for those who came to the core area, you're the only one since ancient times. Even if they're confident that they can tell that you're different, they won't be able to determine your true identity. Ape Tianlai, who knew Night Sorrow's worries, was afraid that Night Sorrow would reveal a flaw. As they walked towards the academy, he spoke. In fact, what he said was the truth. In the eyes of everyone in the fog area, it was impossible for someone from the eternal supreme world to come to the core area of the fog. Therefore, normally no one would doubt this matter. All right, I understand. Don't worry, I won't reveal any flaws. As Night Sorrow responded, he suddenly stood closer to Dancing Lady. At this moment, he noticed that the hermaphrodite male cultivator also moved closer to Dancing Lady. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe and found that their auras were similar. He secretly judged that the hermaphrodite male cultivator should also be a native of the fog area. As for the other 7 cultivators who had successfully advanced, their auras were very different from the 2 of them. They were somewhat similar to Night Sorrow's aura. They, or rather their ancestors, should all be from the eternal supreme world. Regarding this, Night Sorrow didn't have time to think about the pros and cons. Lin Dongqing said, "We're here. When you see the 3 vice deans, you must be extremely respectful. Do you understand?" Of course we understand. You don't have to say anything. After Lin Dongqing finished speaking, one of the male cultivators said coldly. He looked at Lin Dongqing with obvious hatred in his eyes. One look and one could tell that there was a story between them. What's your relationship with Gusuhong? Seeing the male cultivator's unfriendly expression, Lin Dongqing, who looked familiar, asked coldly. I Gusu will avenge my brother. Gusuhong looked at Lin Dongqing and said coldly. Hearing this, Lin Dongqing laughed presumptuously and said, so it's another bastard from the Gusu family. Let's wait and see. After saying that, Lin Dongqing suddenly thought of something and provoked. Right, your brother's death was recorded by me. Do you want to take a look? No need. But I will record the scene of your death. Send it to the Lin clan. After Gusu said that, she no longer cared about Lin Dongqing. Right at this moment, the 3 vice deans had arrived at the group of floating pavilions that they were waiting for. The 2 of them no longer communicated. Lin Dongqing tidied up his appearance and shouted from afar, Dongqing, I've brought 10 people who have advanced and request an audience with the 3 vice deans. Come in. Around half an hour later, an aged voice could be heard. Yes. Lin Dongqing nodded and led Night Sorrow's group as well as the 4 elders into the group of floating pavilions. They arrived at a large hall. At this moment, the 3 main seats in the main hall were empty. They were below the 3 empty seats high up on the stage. Each of them had a seat. There were 3 cultivators sitting on the 3 seats. One was an old man, one was a middle-aged woman, and the other was a handsome male cultivator. The 3 of them were none other than the 3 vice presidents of the Lutian Academy, Jason, Nangong He, and Andrew. The dark aura on the 3 of them was very strong, giving people an extremely oppressive feeling. This was especially true for Andrew. He looked delicate and pretty, but he gave people the feeling that he was a venomous snake. Jason, who looked like an old man, was the one who had looked at Night Sorrow from afar. Seeing everyone arrive, the female cultivator sitting in the middle, Nangong He, took the lead and said, Supervisor Lin, for elders, thank you for your hard work. You've done well. This is your reward. After saying that, she threw a storage ring to Lin Dongqing, Elder Su, and the others. Thank you, Vice Dean Nangong. Lin Dongqing and the others received the reward and hurriedly thanked her. At this time, Nangong He continued, You've received the reward. You can go down now. Yes. Lin Dongqing, who had wanted to stay for a while, retreated with some regret. After they left, the 3 vice deans began to look at Night Sorrow and the others. Seeing that Yishang only had the cultivation of a lower earthly sovereign, other than Jixien, who already knew, the other 2 were interested. Nangong He looked at Night Sorrow and said, I want to know, how did you successfully advance from a lower earth sovereign's cultivation? Did you rely on tricks or did you rely on your strength? Reporting to Vice Dean Nangong. I had both strength and luck. Night Sorrow immediately replied. At this moment, he had completely brought his identity into the foggy area to prevent any mistakes. Very good. You are very confident. I am optimistic about your future. This is a reward for you. Take it. Nangong He carefully sized up Night Sorrow for a moment. She smiled and took out a storage ring, gently throwing it at Night Sorrow. Not good. She's testing my strength. Using the sea serpent's eye to observe the storage ring that Nangong He threw out, Night Sorrow secretly activated the 33 Heavens battle technique. Then he used his hand to grab the storage ring that was floating over. When the ring entered his hand, a huge power at the heavenly supreme level immediately came from it. Night Sorrow was immediately pushed back by this huge force. This made him a little angry. While resisting with all his might, he roared, Stop! However, after using his strength, he realized that the harder he used, the greater the pushing force of the ring. He could not resist at all. However, just as Night Sorrow was about to be pushed out of the hall, Nangong He clapped her hands and said, Good. You are a lower earth sovereign, but you have the strength of a lower heavenly supreme. Your talent is almost not inferior to mine. Your future is promising. Your family will very likely be proud of you in the future. I will classify you as a first-rate genius, 1 grade higher than Lin Dongqing. Yes. Not bad, your talent is indeed astonishing. At this time, Andrew, who had a cold gaze, also carefully sized up Night Sorrow. After observing for a while, he said, Your talent is indeed very good. However, there is no good person in the Lutian Academy. If you want to achieve something, work hard to survive. I will also classify you as a first-rate genius. It's a pity that you are still a little far from the legendary level. What he means is that he can't see any hope of breaking through to the supreme realm on you. But this is nothing. Since ancient times, there have only been 3 supreme realms in the fog area. No one else can break through. I will also classify you as a first-rate genius. After Andrew finished speaking, he handed over his gift. Then the old man continued. After saying this he said, "First-rate geniuses can get a lot, but the challenges they face are also very big. I hope that you can persevere and survive and grow up." After Andrew finished speaking, he also handed over his gift. Originally, Knight Sorrow felt a little touched, but later he realized that every cultivator who advanced had a gift. Moreover, the other 9 people were also divided into different grades. Stealing incense. Chapter 3153. The only person who was classified as a first-grade genius was Yi Shang. Those who were classified as second-grade geniuses were Dancing Lady, Gusubi, and Su Lei. The rest of the people were all classified as third-grade geniuses. This was the most common category in the Slaughtering Heaven Academy. However, after the division, there were obviously a few people who were not convinced. They were very jealous of Knight Sorrow. But naturally they would not show it in front of the 3 vice presidents. As for the vice presidents, after classifying Knight Sorrow and the others, Nangong he looked at everyone and said, "The division of grades is not permanent. As cultivation progresses, some people will fall and some people will rise. In the future, who is strong and who is weak is not destined. When you enter the Slaughtering Heaven Academy, there are only 2 things you need to consider. One is how to survive and the other is how to become stronger. Do you understand?" "Understood." Knight Sorrow and the others replied in unison. Nangong he nodded in satisfaction and said, "There will be elders of the academy to explain the rules to you. Go." After she finished speaking, a gray-robed elder walked in from the entrance of the hall. He greeted the 3 vice presidents and looked at Knight Sorrow and the others. "Let's go. I'll bring you to enjoy the first meeting gift. You guys follow the gray-robed elder." At this moment, one of the vice presidents, Andrew, said coldly. After he gave the order, the 10 new students all followed the gray-robed elder and left the hall. They flew to a mountain peak in the distance. This mountain peak was a burning mountain of flames. From afar, one could see the flames that reached the sky. "What is this?" Looking at the mountain of flames in front of him, Knight Sorrow asked curiously. His voice was very soft, but it was still heard by Dancing Lady. Hearing Knight Sorrow's question, Dancing Lady smiled playfully and said, "This is the first challenge after entering the Slaughtering Heaven Academy. The test of the Sea of Fire." Test of the Sea of Fire? When Knight Sorrow heard her say this, he immediately realized what would happen, but he naturally didn't know the details. As for Dancing Lady, she didn't say many details, afraid that it would arouse the dissatisfaction of the gray-robed elder. "You're all curious about what's going to happen, aren't you?" At this moment, the gray-robed elder, who knew what everyone was thinking, laughed sinisterly. "Then I'll tell you. This mountain of flames was created by the Emperor of Destruction's palm strike. What you need to do is to stay in it as long as possible. Only by staying for more than 2 hours could one officially become a disciple of the Slaughterer Academy. As for those who stay longer, there will be additional rewards." "I see." Hearing the gray-robed elder's words, not only did Knight Sorrow's doubts disappear, everyone else also understood. Then many people looked at Knight Sorrow, especially Su Lei, who was in the 2nd tier. She looked very beautiful and had the majestic aura of an empress. However, when she looked at Knight Sorrow, there was an obvious provocation in her eyes. It was obvious that he wasn't satisfied with Knight Sorrow being placed in the 1st tier. "What? Do you have a problem with me?" Seeing Su Lei staring at him, Knight Sorrow sneered and asked. He knew that the people in the fog area were usually more excited and impulsive. When faced with such provocation, if he didn't speak up, it wouldn't be logical at all. "I think that you'll be the first-tier genius to fall in the mountain of flames." Su Lei's eyes seemed to be able to speak. At this moment they were replaced by a look of sympathy. After hearing her, Knight Sorrow laughed and said, "I'm afraid you'll be the first to worry about the 1st tier for the 2nd tier. Quickly put yourself in your place. Don't be arrogant." "Wrong." His words were very arrogant. This immediately angered Su Lei. She looked at Knight Sorrow unhappily and said, "Why don't you and I have a competition to see who can stay in the mountain of flames the longest? Whoever loses will submit to the other." Her words were harsh. The loser would submit to the other. This was not leaving any bottom line. Hearing this, the gray-robed elder laughed dryly and said, "You guys are quite interesting. This elder supports your bet. Since you support it, I choose to bet." Using the sea serpent's eye to look at the mountain of flames and then at Su Lei, Knight Sorrow agreed without hesitation. After all, he had the phoenix bloodline in him, and his body was very strong, not inferior to ordinary heavenly sovereigns. However, I have a request. We can't use secret treasures in the Mountain of Flames. What do you think? Night Sorrow agreed. Su Lei's face immediately showed a hint of a conquering smile, looking a little domineering. After she finished speaking, Night Sorrow nodded with a smile and said, "That's exactly what I want." "Good. This elder will bear witness for you. No one is allowed to cheat." After the gray-robed elder finished speaking, he looked at the others and said, "Are there any of you who don't like each other? You can also issue a challenge. To tell you the truth, you will all be opponents in the future. Sooner or later you will fall out." After he finished speaking, the others looked at each other and didn't say anything. Regarding this, the gray-robed elder was a little disappointed and said, "Boring, no character. Only Su Lei and the Night Demon will have a bright future. You people can't." Although his words caused some people to be dissatisfied, they didn't stand out. Then the gray-robed elder said, "All right. You can enter the mountain immediately. Remember, if you can't hold on for 2 hours, you can't really enter the Lu Tian Academy. Also, you'd better not try to climb to the peak. Otherwise you will very likely be burned to ashes." "Good. Thank you for the reminder, Elder." Hearing this, Night Sorrow thanked him and looked at Su Lei and said, "Let's go." Night Sorrow had already thought of this when he was in the main hall, that Su Lei didn't like him and challenged him. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Even if Su Lei didn't challenge him, the others would. The only thing that surprised him was that Su Lei's gamble was a little too big. It was a win-or-die situation. No one could afford to lose. "With the gray-robed elder as a witness, I believe you will fulfill your promise. I, Su Lei, am probably the first person to be able to obtain a servant with a first-grade talent." Su Lei glanced at Night Sorrow and flew towards the Mountain of Flames. "You'll soon understand why I'm in first gear and you're in second gear. I've just arrived at the Slaughterer Academy, and I've already gotten an Empress servant to do my laundry and sweep the floor. Not bad." Yi Shang looked at him with a smile on his face. He could feel that Su Lei must have been an Empress or a clan leader somewhere else. His temperament was a little special. He thought to himself that if he could purify her, he would definitely gain a lot. Perhaps he might be able to obtain a large tribe. Shameless boasting. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Su Lei replied disdainfully. She was in a hurry to bet with Night Sorrow. This was because she knew that this was Night Sorrow's weakest moment. If more time passed, his cultivation would definitely soar. At that time, the difference in talent would be revealed, and Night Sorrow would undoubtedly become the champion of this year's competition. Stealing incense. Chapter 3154. In the eyes of others, Su Lei was obviously a little impatient. But in reality, the time she chose to challenge Night Sorrow was the most appropriate. Because at this time, Night Sorrow had not completely grown up, and he still needed time to improve himself. Whether or not I'm boasting shamelessly, you'll know soon enough. Night Sorrow also knew that Su Lei was very shrewd, and the timing she chose was also very good. At this time he could not retreat at all and could only face it head-on. However, he felt that Su Lei had calculated everything, but she had miscalculated one thing, and that was that he had the support of the Phoenix bloodline. Ordinary flames could not pose any threat to him at all. Even if it was the Mountain of Flames, it was not something that ordinary cultivators could withstand. But he was also far more able to withstand it than ordinary cultivators. Night Devil. Wait until you become my slave, then say this. Su Lei took a last look at Night Sorrow, and directly climbed up the burning Mountain of Flames. Tisk tisk, there's a good show to watch. Just as Su Lei flew towards the Mountain of Flames, the gray-robed elder laughed playfully. After a moment, Su Lei suddenly shouted. She was fine, but the robe on her body was quickly burned clean by the flames. Su Lei, who screamed, immediately used her divine domain to cover her exposed body, to prevent others from seeing her naked body. What are you looking at? Hurry up and go. At this time, Night Sorrow was also flying towards the Mountain of Flames. But the other 8 people, including Dancing Woman, were all watching. The gray-robed elder could not help but curse. Urged by the gray-robed elder, the few of them immediately flew towards the Mountain of Flames with solemn expressions. When they had just flown over, Night Sorrow had already landed halfway up the Mountain of Flames. This height was no different from Su Lei's. After landing, Night Sorrow's body was also burned clean, but the phoenix armor on his body was still there. And this phoenix armor was not only not burned, but also absorbed the essence of the flames in front of it. This kind of environment, to him, was completely like a fish in water. Very good. But you have to improve yourself. We've already agreed that you can't rely on external objects. Although it's not fate, I still have to take you down. He used his divine domain to resist the invasion of the flames. After saying that, Night Sorrow reluctantly took off the phoenix armor. Let the armor absorb the essence of the flames. He used his own god domain to resist the terrifying flames around him. Compared to ordinary flames, the flames on the mountain of flames were indeed terrifying. Night Sorrow had just taken off his phoenix battle armor when he felt an extremely intense wave of heat. This kind of heat was almost equivalent to the attack power of an ordinary Sky Supreme. It would be difficult for him to withstand it with his body. Although it was simple, Night Sorrow saw Su Lei persevering without moving, so he gritted his teeth and persevered. He couldn't afford to lose this bet no matter what. To Night Sorrow, freedom was the most precious thing. Just like that, they persevered for an hour. Night Sorrow and Su Lei did not have any problems, they were still persevering. At this time, Su Lei suddenly opened his mouth and said, "Flames of this intensity are nothing to you and me. Why don't we increase the height by 1,000 feet? Good. Then let's increase the height by 1,000 feet. After saying that, Yishang took the lead in climbing upwards. In order to slowly adapt to the intensity of the flames, he did not fly above 1,000 feet directly. Let's see how you can persevere. Su Lei saw that Night Sorrow had agreed to his request and immediately smiled. Although she was at ease now, she did not dare to underestimate the height below. Like Night Sorrow, she also climbed up step by step. As for the others, the height they chose had not reached Night Sorrow and Su Lei's initial height. They were obviously seeking stability and wanted to persevere for 2 hours first. Seeing this, the gray-robed elder nodded and then shook his head. He said, "There's no problem with your choice. But your choice is equivalent to choosing to be mediocre. In Lutian Academy, being mediocre is equivalent to failure." These words were not said loudly. But it was just loud enough for the people on the mountain to hear. Hearing the gray-robed elder's words, Gusabi, who was classified as a second-tier genius like Su Lei, immediately stood up and climbed higher. One of his goals was to kill the previous batch's strongest genius, Lin Dongqing, to avenge his brother. Naturally, he did not want to be mediocre. Looks like I can't fall behind. Seeing Gusabi, an expert of the same level, move first. The last genius, Whirling Woman, who was in the second gear, also moved and began to climb upwards. As for the others present, they had no intention of moving at all. Perhaps to them, being able to enter Lutian Academy was already a success. In the academy, being mediocre was not important at all. At the same time, Night Sorrow had already reached the height that he and Su Lei had designated. Then Su Lei also successfully arrived. This time she was even closer to Night Sorrow. There was only 1,000 feet between them. They could even see each other's expressions. This woman is using psychological tactics against you. Don't be affected by her. Seeing that Su Lei was deliberately approaching Night Sorrow, Yuan Tianlai, who was in the space cave, immediately reminded her. Don't worry, I know what she's thinking. It should still be light for now. She'll definitely have another move later. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to scan Su Lei and successfully saw through her god territory. He did not covet Su Lei's body, nor did he have any intention of peeping. He saw through her god territory because he was prepared to see through Su Lei's bottom line. According to Night Sorrow's analysis, although Su Lei's god territory was very strong, it should not be able to last long. It was similar to his situation. It would not be long before the god territory could only be used to cover the body. Soon the two of them would need to use their bodies to resist the flames. Night Sorrow was still very confident in his own body because he had obtained the Phoenix bloodline and had even undergone Nirvana rebirth. His understanding and endurance of flames were very strong. Bastard! This night demon can see through my god territory. At this moment, Su Lei was also transmitting her voice to the people in the space cave. She felt a little embarrassed that Night Sorrow had seen her body. To the organization, if you can make this night demon obey you, you'll have done a great service. What's the big deal about having your body seen through? That's right. To cultivators, the body is nothing. Don't let it disturb your mind. You must win this battle. Su Lei had just finished transmitting her voice when two voices responded to her. Just like Autark and Ling and Autark masked, these two had mentioned the term organization. Obviously they were from the same faction. Stealing fragrance. Chapter 3155. Alright. Hearing the two mention the organization, Su Lei immediately calmed down and activated her bloodline. In fact, the reason why she was about to challenge Night Sorrow was related to the two people in the grotto heaven. Both of them were elders of the organization, and had come to assist Su Lei in Lu Tian Academy. They had received news of Night Sorrow from the masked elder and had met her here. They felt that this was fate and immediately asked Su Lei to challenge Night Sorrow. Su Lei, who was already dissatisfied with Night Sorrow, naturally did as she was told. That Su Lei seems to have good self-control. She regained her composure in an instant. Although Yuan Tianlai in the grotto heaven could not see through Su Lei's divine territory, he could feel from the change in her aura that Su Lei had completely calmed down. I didn't expect her to have a trace of Wuxia's bloodline. Night Sorrow, who continued to observe Su Lei, said in surprise. He saw a trace of Wuxia's shadow in Su Lei's bloodline power. What's Wuxia? Hearing this, Yuan Tianlai asked in confusion. Wuxia is a divine beast that once existed between heaven and earth. Dragons and phoenixes are its descendants. This Su Lei has Wuxia's bloodline. She's at least as talented as a true dragon and a true phoenix. Before Night Sorrow could speak, Bai Mei Sanren spoke first. At this time, Yuan Tianlai continued, in this world, dragons and phoenixes are not considered strong to us. How strong can they be? There are dragons and phoenixes in the eternal supreme world. They are even called ancestral dragons and ancestral phoenixes. In fact, they are not pure true dragons and phoenixes. Their bloodlines were much weaker than his. Wuxia and its descendants, the original true dragons and phoenixes, have long disappeared. If they still exist, they should not be weaker than the few Supreme Realm experts. Hearing Yuan Tianlia's words, Bai Mei Sanren immediately retorted. These things were legends that Yen had told him. He was not sure if it was true, but he felt that Yen was not joking, so there should be no mistake. After saying this, Bai Mei Sanren asked Night Sorrow, how did you hear about Wuxia? Just now, I saw a huge shadow behind her, and the name Wuxia naturally appeared in my mind. Before this, I seem to have heard of Wuxia. But the one in front of me makes me feel like it's the only one in the world. The others should only have its bloodline. Night Sorrow said, then guessed, I think it's because I have the phoenix bloodline in me. That's why I was able to recognize it immediately. Yes, that's probably the case. After Night Sorrow finished his explanation, Bai Mei Sanren immediately agreed. But then he said worriedly, Su Lei has Wuxia's bloodline while you only have the phoenix's bloodline. You are half a level lower than her. Can you win this bet? I'm not sure if I can win or not, but I know that I won't lose. While Night Sorrow was replying to Bai Mei Sanren, he felt that the pressure on his body was too great. He completely activated the phoenix bloodline in his body. Under the influence of the black gas, he activated a black fire phoenix, which seemed to have an evil aura. That Wuxia behind her doesn't have any black aura. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at Su Lei again and found that the lifelike huge bird behind her did not have any black aura. There's nothing strange about this. Most of the cultivators in the foggy area came from the eternal supreme realm. Their auras may have been corroded, but the power of their bloodline is in their bones. It will never change. At this time Yuan Tianlai said, I see. Hearing this, Night Sorrow suddenly realized that he had almost given himself away. But it was not that there were no fallen phoenixes in this world. There was nothing wrong with what he had shown. At this time, Su Lei observed Night Sorrow and said, so he has the bloodline of the fallen fire phoenix. No wonder he dared to bet with me on the mountain of flames. It's just that his bloodline is not as good as mine. The one who will win will definitely be me. Of course. In terms of bloodline, not many people can beat you in the flames. After Su Lei finished speaking, an elder in her space grotto heaven said confidently, he'll win for sure. But this flame is very difficult to deal with, so I won't say much. Elders, just wait for the result. At this time, although Su Lei had already used the power of her bloodline, she still felt a lot of pressure in the face of the flames, so she focused on resisting. As time passed, Night Sorrow also gradually felt the great power of the flames. That feeling was like throwing an ordinary person into a pot of oil. It was very uncomfortable. But in order to win, he still persevered and had no intention of backing down. After Night Sorrow and Su Lei fought to the death for 2 hours, not long after, the male cultivators who were classified as the 3rd grade left the mountain of flames one after another. They had all lasted for 2 hours and not a single one was eliminated. Seeing these people leave the mountain of flames one after another after 2 hours, the gray-robed elder said with a smile, the 3 Vice-Dean's classification of grades is really accurate. Whether it's talent or temperament, these people are inferior to the remaining few. At this time Gusubi and Hasa were still persevering. Although their position was lower than Night Sorrow and Su Lei's, it was still very difficult for them to persevere because they didn't have bloodline talents related to flames. However, the two of them were silently competing. No one wanted to lose. Not bad. Their temperament is good, but their talent is a little lacking. Seeing the performance of the two, the gray-robed elder nodded. Then he looked at Night Sorrow and Su Lei, wanting to observe the result. But after looking, he found that he couldn't see who would win. At this time, an old man suddenly appeared beside him and said, "Who do you think will win?" "Greetings, Vice-Dean." The gray-robed elder turned around and saw that it was Vice-Dean Ji Xian. He immediately bowed. Then he said, "I still think Su Lei is better. The first reason is that she is strong enough, and the second reason is that her bloodline talent is better in this place. I think Night Devil will win." Vice-Dean Ji Xian glanced at the battle and said, "You also know that after persevering in the flames for 2 hours, it will usher in an illusion. It will feel hotter and hotter, but in reality the heat of each area will not change. Therefore both of their bodies can withstand the flames at this height in front of them. In the end, the deciding factor is their temperament." "You're saying that Night Devil's temperament is stronger than Su Lei's?" The gray-robed elder looked at Vice-Dean Ji Xian and said, "Yes." Vice-Dean Ji Xian nodded and continued, "In his heart, his goal should be to break through to the extreme realm. All three of us can feel it. If he loses so easily, how can he break through to the extreme realm? Therefore, no matter what, he will persevere until the end." Stealing incense. Chapter 3156. Oh, I didn't expect him to have the ambition of reaching the extreme realm. The gray-robed elder looked at Night Sorrow in surprise when he heard Vice President Ji Xian's words. In his opinion, for Night Sorrow, breaking through to the heavenly supreme level was obviously a more suitable goal. Setting his sights on the illusory limiter was a little too ambitious. At this moment, Vice President Ji Xian said, "He's not aiming too high but setting a goal. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's wait and see." Then, the two of them continued to look at Night Sorrow and Su Lei. They wanted to wait for the final result of their battle. They knew that in the mountain of flames, cultivators would feel their surroundings getting hotter and hotter. No one could hold on forever. After the two of them observed for about 2 hours, Yishang and Su Lei's bodies both changed. To outsiders, the two of them looked like they were restless. It looked like they couldn't hold on any longer. However, they were both holding on. This Su Lei is indeed not simple. The burning of the mountain of flames is making me feel more and more uncomfortable. If not for the bet with her, I would have given up long ago. I didn't expect her to be able to hold on so long in such high temperatures. Night Sorrow said slowly as he looked at Su Lei. At this moment he was like a drowning pedestrian. He couldn't hold on at all and wanted to jump out of the water. However, Su Lei didn't give up. He kept holding on. "No matter what, we can't lose. If we lose, we'll lose the fate of the eternal supreme realm." Knowing that Night Sorrow couldn't hold on any longer, Bai Mei Sanren immediately encouraged him. "I know, so I'm holding on. I just don't know what the consequences will be if we keep holding on. Will we all be incinerated?" Night Sorrow, who was gritting his teeth and holding on, felt worse than having 10,000 arrows piercing his heart. However, he kept holding on and had no intention of giving up. "I don't think so. Since it's a test for the students of Lutian Academy, it shouldn't be so despairing," Yen Tianlai said slowly. Actually, he was a little envious of Night Sorrow at this moment. After all, he hadn't advanced to Slaughter Academy in the end. However, when he thought of his identity in the Eternal Supreme World, he felt that the Slaughterer Academy in the foggy area was no longer that important. It was no longer an obsession in his heart. "Yes. No matter what, I will continue to persevere." Night Sorrow was left completely speechless after replying to the crowd once more. This was because his senses were becoming more and more uncomfortable. At this moment he felt like an ordinary person who had entered a pool of molten red molten iron. That kind of feeling was already very frightening. At this moment Su Lei was not much better. No matter how much the two elders in the space paradise encouraged her, she still felt like she could not bear it and wanted to give up. But at this time she clenched her teeth and told herself, "Even if I'm burned to death, I can't be someone else's slave." This was her dignity as an emperor. "These two little fellows are pretty good. Just hold on a little longer and the two of them will surpass Lin Dongqing's score." After another 2 hours, Gusubi and Hasa woman left the mountain of flames one after another. Night Sorrow and Su Lei were still persevering. The gray-robed elder, who had seen their performance, nodded in satisfaction. He felt that he had indeed recruited 2 good seedlings this year. However, it was a little difficult for 2 tigers to live on the same mountain. They've persisted for so long. In my opinion, neither of them can afford to lose. They would rather be burned to ashes in the flames than compromise. Therefore, this competition is very likely to end in a draw. At this moment, the Vice Dean Ji Xian suddenly made his own judgment. He had already felt the determination of Night Sorrow and Su Lei. He felt that even if they were to suffer more in the new era, they would not give up. Therefore, it was very likely that they would continue to drag this out. And Ji Xian's words came true. Another 6 hours passed. Although Night Sorrow and Su Lei could no longer hold on mentally, they did not give up. Because neither of them could afford to lose. They would rather be burned to ashes than lose. Seeing this situation, the gray-robed elder said, "If they continue to drag this out, they won't break the record of the Mountain of Flames, right? Then they should be rewarded." "It's possible. If they can both break the record of the longest duration, it will really become a legend." Ji Xian smiled and nodded. He secretly thought that the people that Elder Su had his eyes on were indeed not ordinary. Another 10 hours passed. Night Sorrow and Su Lei broke the record of the new students at the Mountain of Flames at the same time. And at this time, Night Sorrow and Su Lei both had a slight understanding. They had discovered the secret of the Mountain of Flames at the same time. As long as one's spirit could withstand the test, one's body would not be burned to ashes. Therefore, although the 2 of them were extremely uncomfortable, they continued to persevere. In the end, Night Sorrow even began to cultivate his physical body in this extremely uncomfortable environment. After cultivating for a few hours, he felt that the strength of his body had successfully been tempered to the intermediate level of a Heavenly Supreme. It was roughly equivalent to the level of a Middle Heavenly Supreme. However, what really surprised Night Sorrow was that the Phoenix battle armor had continuously absorbed the essence of the flames. The Phoenix battle armor had completely sublimated in the flames and advanced to the level of a Heavenly Supreme. This was a huge surprise for Night Sorrow. However, at this time there was a problem. The Phoenix battle armor, which had advanced to the level of a Heavenly Supreme, would soon face a lightning tribulation. If Night Sorrow did not help, it would very likely be destroyed by the lightning tribulation. However, Night Sorrow could not give up on the battle. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow had an idea. He transmitted his voice to Su Lei. "Su Lei, you and I both know that although the flames in front of us are getting more and more terrifying, they can't really threaten our bodies. Therefore, it's very difficult for us to determine the winner. Why don't we change the battle?" "What you said makes sense, but how do you want to change it?" Su Lei replied to Night Sorrow. She knew that if she and Night Sorrow continued to fight like this, they would only be tortured together. Neither of them would give up. "Let's see who can reach the top first. If neither of us can reach the top, then let's see who can reach a higher position. How about that?" Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Su Lei. At this time it was torture for both of them. He felt that Su Lei would not refuse. And the truth was so. After being tortured for so long, Su Lei felt that she was about to go crazy. She transmitted her voice to Night Sorrow. "Okay. I promise you we will change the rules. When will we go?" "Immediately. But after all, I am the one who changed the rules, so you go first and then I will." Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Su Lei. At this time he had already stood up. "I won't go easy on you because of this." Su Lei, who replied to Night Sorrow, did not hold back and directly climbed to the top of the mountain. She knew that this time, between her and Night Sorrow, the winner would be decided very soon. Stealing incense. Chapter 3157. The outcome of this matter meant a lot. She couldn't afford to lose. Night Sorrow, hurry up. But she won. Seeing Su Lei desperately climbing towards the peak, Baimei Sanrin, who was in the space grotto heaven, immediately reminded him anxiously. Hearing this, Night Sorrow responded and then said, "According to my observation, it's not that easy to reach the peak, because the flames on top are much more powerful than here. It's not necessarily a good thing to rush up rashly. I choose to fight steadily and surely." "So you already had a plan. But is this really reliable?" Yen Tianlai, who was in the space grotto heaven, also spoke. He didn't understand Night Sorrow's choice. "Just now, Su Lei and I fell into a state of wanting to win and being afraid of losing, causing our minds to become very impetuous. It's definitely not advisable to climb the mountain of flames with an impetuous state of mind. But I've already adjusted my state of mind. I shouldn't lose. Night Sorrow explained again and began to climb steadily. Because he didn't use all his strength, the distance between him and Su Lei grew larger and larger. Seeing this scene, Bai Mei Sanren and Yen Tianlai were not the only ones who were anxious. Even the gray-robed elder and vice principal Ji Xian, who were watching from the side, were puzzled. They didn't quite understand why Night Sorrow was climbing up so slowly. The gray-robed elder glanced at vice principal Ji Xian and said, "Has he given up, or does he have thoughts that we can't see through? This I'm not too sure either. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have given up so easily. But his choice is really strange." Seeing Su Lei climb higher and higher, Vice Principal Ji Xian said. At this moment, his mind suddenly moved and he said, "I understand." Night Demon judged that Su Lei would definitely not be able to reach the peak. He's prepared to use the most stable state of mind to reach the peak. Yes, it should be like this. I see. It seems that this Night Demon is really a person with great courage. Hearing Vice Principal Ji Xian say this, the gray-robed elder immediately praised. As for Night Sorrow's mood, he admired it from the bottom of his heart. At this time, the others who were watching the battle between Night Sorrow and Su Lei at the foot of the mountain could not see the situation clearly. Everyone, including Hasa Woman and Gusabi, was just watching the show. At this time, the gray-robed elder suddenly turned to look at them and said, "Pay more attention to the Night Demon. He is not simple." "Yes, Elder." After Grey Robe finished speaking, everyone agreed, but they did not quite understand why he came to such a conclusion. Because from the looks of it, Su Lei was clearly closer to victory. If nothing unexpected happens, the Night Demon will win this battle. Seeing that everyone was confused, the gray-robed elder continued to explain. Vice Dean Ji Xian didn't say this out loud. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Vice School Head Ji Xian immediately agreed. And reality was also developing in this direction. Although Su Lei was far ahead, her state of mind was obviously very impetuous. After climbing for about an hour, she found it difficult to make any progress. On the other hand, Night Sorrow didn't seem to be moving very fast, but he was able to maintain a steady pace, causing the distance between them to decrease. No. I can't let him catch up. Seeing that Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer, Su Lei's state of mind began to become even more impetuous. She burned her own blood and continued to rush upwards. However, as the height increased, she soon felt a flame that she couldn't withstand rushing towards her. Are these real flames or are they the flames of an illusion? Facing the oncoming flames, Su Lei asked in confusion. A cultivator in her space grotto heaven immediately said, "According to my senses, these are real flames. They are different from the ones you were fighting just now. Looks like I have to go around these flames to continue going up." The flames in front of her were too fierce. Su Lei didn't have the confidence to break through at all. She immediately flew at the same height, looking for a way to continue going up. However, after searching for a while, she still couldn't find a suitable path. What was blocking his way were all extremely terrifying level 7 flames. At this time Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer. She immediately shouted anxiously, "What should I do? I definitely can't lose this bet." "Don't be afraid. If you can't pass, he might not be able to pass either. Stay calm. Even if he catches up, it's not like there's no chance. After all, he's catching up bit by bit." Seeing that Su Lei's state of mind was a little unstable, the other person in the space grotto heaven immediately consoled her. "No. I can feel that it's already very difficult for me to win this bet. Because my state of mind is already in a mess. I've been focusing on the night devil behind me and haven't been able to reach the peak without any distracting thoughts." At this time Su Lei said with some regret. Night Sorrow had been chasing from behind, which gave her a lot of pressure. Now it was too late. Sigh. Hearing Su Lei's words, the two people in the space grotto heaven both sighed. They knew that what Su Lei said made sense. However, the three of them didn't realize it just now. This might be the case of those closely involved unable to see clearly. At this time, Night Sorrow's body had an aura of bravery. He didn't fly at all. Instead, he climbed up step by step. Every step was very solid. With these solid steps, he approached Su Lei bit by bit. In the end, he successfully overtook her. After being overtaken by Night Sorrow, Su Lei completely collapsed. She knew that in this battle, she definitely didn't have the chance to turn defeat into victory. Because the two of them were very different in terms of state of mind, the intensity of the flames they encountered was also different. She flew very quickly and the attacks of the flames were also very strong. However, Night Sorrow was advancing step by step. After overtaking her, he continued to climb up with all his might. He had no intention of stopping at all. You've already won. I can't get past these flames in front of me. Seeing Night Sorrow continue to climb up, Su Lei said helplessly. These words made her feel a strong sense of humiliation. When Night Sorrow heard this, he turned to look at her and said, "Go down and wait for me. I want to try and see if I can successfully reach the peak." As he spoke, Night Sorrow continued to climb up, step by step towards the top of the mountain. As the height increased, the heat that Night Sorrow felt naturally became stronger and stronger. However, he still didn't give up. At the same time as the height increased, his state of mind also underwent some changes. He gradually understood that the path to the peak was a path of invincibility. With invincibility in his heart, he could climb. This Night Devil really has a chance to reach the peak. I should give him a certain amount of motivation. Seeing Night Sorrow continue to climb up and have no intention of stopping, Dean Ji suddenly said. Vice President Ji Xian suddenly shouted, "Go, Night Demon! If you can successfully reach the peak, the clone of the Emperor Slayer will come out to see you. He'll give you a reward." Stealing incense. Chapter 3158. Emperor Destroyer's doppelganger is sleeping under the mountain of flames. If you successfully reach the top, you will awaken him. He will bring you endless rewards and unbelievable legacies. Good luck, Night Devil. After saying that, Deputy Dean Ji Xian felt that he was not specific enough, so he added another sentence. What? If I reach the top, Emperor Destroyer's doppelganger will appear? With his eyesight, I will most likely be exposed. I can't reach the top, I definitely can't reach the top. Hearing Deputy Dean Ji Xian's words, Night Sorrow felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His thoughts of reaching the top were immediately extinguished. He knew very well that even if Emperor Destroyer's doppelganger appeared, it was very likely that he would discover the secret of his identity. After all, life forms at that level could see things that people like them could not imagine. You're right. The legendary Emperor Destroyer is extremely talented. If he appears, it will be very difficult for our identities to be exposed immediately. Sensing the change in Night Sorrow's mentality, Ape Tianlai immediately transmitted his voice. Actually, he was as nervous as Night Sorrow. Facing a legendary expert like Emperor Destroyer, he was not mentally prepared at all. Don't worry, I definitely won't reach the top. No one is stupid enough to court death. After Ape Tianlai said that, Night Sorrow said that and gradually changed his pace. It seemed as if he was struggling to move forward. As expected, he can't reach the top. Seeing that Night Sorrow had slowed down his pace, some of the onlookers heaved a sigh of relief. They knew very well that if Night Sorrow could reach the top, they would all be completely overshadowed. There would be no chance for them to make a comeback. Because he had been trained by Emperor Destroyer for a period of time, his cultivation level, which was lower than others, would increase greatly in a short period of time. As for the gray-robed elder and Deputy Dean Ji Xian, they were both somewhat disappointed. They wanted to see Night Sorrow successfully reach the top. But they knew very well that although Night Sorrow's performance was outstanding, it seemed that he would not be able to reach the top. Because his condition was not right. And Night Sorrow did not disappoint their judgment. Not long after, he came down from the mountain of flames. At this moment, his Phoenix battle armor was already on his body. Before Night Sorrow could even speak to Su Lei, the lightning tribulation for the Phoenix armor had already arrived. Facing this kind of lightning tribulation, Night Sorrow naturally handled it with ease. Under the attention of everyone, he successfully passed through it. As for the Phoenix armor, it had become a heavenly sovereign level armor. Beginning with the Azure Phoenix, returning to the Azure Phoenix. From today onwards, you shall be known as the Azure Phoenix battle armor. After putting on the armor, Night Sorrow suddenly remembered Jing Yun, who had given him the armor, and immediately changed its name back. He recalled the Azure Phoenix battle armor. However, the current Azure Phoenix battle armor was also greenish-black in color, so it did fit the name. Night Demon. You have achieved a very good result today. Follow me later to receive your reward. Before that, you and Su Lei should first resolve the problem between you two. After Night Sorrow helped the Azure Phoenix battle armor overcome the lightning tribulation, the gray-robed elder immediately came to him. After that, the elder in gray robes led the others away, leaving only Su Lei in front of Night Sorrow. I've lost. After the gray-robed elder left, Su Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said unwillingly. At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at her. He looked at her and said, the bet will naturally take effect. However, I haven't thought of how to deal with you yet. You can display yourself in the academy first. However, you have to be clear that you have made a heavenly oath and are already my servant. I understand. Su Lei was a little surprised by Night Sorrow's words. She responded and left directly. Seeing that Night Sorrow had let Su Lei go, Yuan Tianlai asked in confusion, "Why did you let her go? Isn't it better to directly enslave her?" I felt a trace of danger from her body. This kind of danger could threaten my life. It's better to wait until she's stronger before trying to control her. Yi Shang explained and rushed towards the gray-robed elder's location. Gray-robed elder. After catching up to everyone, Night Sorrow came to the gray-robed elder's side and greeted him politely. You're very good. However, if you want to achieve your goal, I'm afraid you'll have to go a long way." Thinking of what Vice Dean Ji Xian had said, the gray-robed elder said earnestly. All these years, even in the Lutian Academy, there had only been a few Supreme Realm seedlings, but no one had ever succeeded. He felt that although Yi Shan had ambitions in this area, it would be extremely difficult for him to realize it. Then go very, very far. The gray-robed elder was talking about the Supreme Realm. Night Sorrow did not know. Thinking of the goal of protecting the eternal Supreme Realm in his heart, he immediately said this. Night Sorrow understood that this goal was very difficult to achieve, but he would definitely not give up. Not long after, under the gray-robed elder's lead, Night Sorrow and the others received their rewards one after another. Then they were arranged to live in their own residence. They all lived on a mountain peak. Night Sorrow lived at the peak. This was his reward for climbing the Mountain of Flames. Su Lei was the closest to Night Sorrow, about 3/4 of the mountain. Then there were Gusubi and Hasa Lady, both of them about halfway up the mountain. As for the others, they were arranged to wait at the height of the Mountain of Flames. The few of them were very close to each other. They did not even need to use their soul power to see each other's existence. After arranging everyone's residence, the gray-robed elder handed Night Sorrow and the others to a crimson-robed elder. Compared to the gray-robed elder, the crimson-robed elder looked much more ferocious. He had the aura of a wolf. After gathering Night Sorrow and the others, he said with a murderous tone, "The higher you live, the better you'll be treated. The faster your strength will increase. If anyone wants to improve their living environment, you can accept a mission from me. This is the only way for you to improve within 1,000 years. At the same time, this is also your benefit. After 1,000 years, your mountain will enter the same small world as the other mountains." At this point, the crimson-robed elder laughed coldly and said, "At that time, you won't be protected at all." 1,000 years, huh? Hearing this, Night Sorrow and the others immediately understood. This 1,000 years was the time the academy gave them to take a breather. When the time was up, they would compete and fight with the other batches of students. After that, Night Sorrow asked, "Elder, if the place we live in is good enough, what can we get after completing the mission? Other than the rewards you have already received, if you want to get anything within 1,000 years, you have to complete the mission. Also, after 800 years, I will calculate your completion of the mission and give you the corresponding reward. As for the remaining 200 years, it is left for you to improve your strength." The crimson-robed elder said word by word. Stealing incense. Chapter 3159. In short, if you want to survive in the competition in the future, you can only fight. Fight non-stop to complete all kinds of missions and gain a lot of experience to increase your strength. Otherwise, if you fight against the previous batches of students, you will be crushed until not even your bones are left. After saying this, the red-robed elder handed each of them a jade token and said, "These are your jade tokens. If you want to accept a mission, just summon me through the jade token. Do you have any other questions?" Elder. I want to know how to replace the night demon. After the blood-robed elder spoke, Gusubi abruptly spoke. Then, he looked at Night Sorrow with a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. Missions. Points. Here, just look at these two things. Don't you think I've made it clear enough? Hearing this, the red-robed elder said angrily. Reporting to Elder. I got it. After being reprimanded, Gusubi replied. Actually, he wanted to know what kind of results he had to achieve to replace Night Sorrow's position. But he didn't say it clearly. Do you have any other questions? The blood-robed elder looked at the crowd coldly and asked. At this time, Night Sorrow said directly, Elder, the night demon wants to accept a mission immediately. I wonder if it's possible? Don't you want to go back to your residence to cultivate for a while and wait for your strength to increase before accepting a mission? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, The red-robed elder looked at him in confusion. In the past few years, no one had ever accepted a mission after being assigned a place to stay and not used it for a day. Reporting to Elder. Although the Night Demon's talent is not bad, his strength is the lowest among everyone. If I want to catch up with them in 1,000 years, I have to put in the most effort. So, I'm not used to things like a residence. Let's just start the battle. Night Sorrow looked at the red-robed elder and said firmly, "Good. As expected of the number 1 seed, your effort is undeniable. Here I want to congratulate you." The blood-robed elder glanced at Yi Shang and spoke with a strange smile on his face. "Congratulate me?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow looked at the red-robed elder in confusion. "Yes. Congratulations, you have triggered a special quest. This is a hidden mission. Every year, the first person to come in contact with the mission will trigger it." After saying this, the blood-robed elder glanced at the others and said, "You can all leave now." Then he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Follow me into the mission space." After saying that, he brought Night Sorrow into a small world filled with dancing bamboo slips. In this small world, tens of thousands of bamboo slips had already gained sentience and were dancing in the air. The blood-robed elder glanced at the bamboo slips and said, "These are the places where you usually accept missions. If you want to accept a mission in the future, you can choose from them. As for the hidden mission, follow me." "All right." Yi Shan responded and followed behind the blood-robed elder. They slowly walked to a metal door. Standing outside the iron gate, the blood-robed elder struck out with his palm and imprinted it directly on the iron gate. As the palm print gradually became clearer, the iron door opened. At this time, Night Sorrow saw about 10 bamboo slips flying in the air. Compared to the bamboo slips outside, these bamboo slips looked more crystal clear and each of them emitted a faint orchid light. They looked very dazzling. It was completely different from the dark aura of the fog. These are the missions you can choose from. This hidden mission is a long-term mission. You can complete it within 1,000 years. If you can't complete it by then, the mission will be taken back and at the same time, 50% of your points will be deducted. The blood-robed elder said to Night Sorrow and continued, "Next, you can try to accept the mission. That is, grab one of the bamboo slips." Blood-robed elder, the 50% points you mentioned, is it all the points I have after 1,000 years? At this time, Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. He thought to himself that this mission was a bit of a trap. It didn't sound like a simple mission. In fact, it might contain a huge amount of danger. Yes. If you complete the hidden mission, you will receive a very generous reward. But if you fail, you will also have a lot of points deducted. The blood-robed elder said and continued, "But since you are here, you have no chance to refuse. I'm just asking. I'm not ready to give up." Night Sorrow said and began to use the sea serpent's eye and the power of his soul to check the few bamboo slips flying in front of him. However, he found that he couldn't see the mission content at all. It should be because all the quests were randomly triggered. He stopped observing and reached out to grab one of the bamboo slips. However, not only did this bamboo slip know how to dodge, but its speed was also far beyond Night Sorrow's expectations. He actually grabbed nothing but air. Don't underestimate these bamboo slips. They are all bamboo spirits and are very spiritual. Basically, no one can successfully complete the mission in one go. Seeing that Night Sorrow's first attempt failed, the blood-robed elder reminded him. "Don't worry, elder. I'm not discouraged." Yi Shang replied and continued to attack, grabbing at the bamboo slip that he had just dodged. He was ready to get up from where he fell and targeted the bamboo slip in front of him. Whoosh! Night Sorrow didn't expect that when he grabbed the bamboo slip again, it would spit out a blazing flame. This bamboo slip actually spat out a mouthful of scorching flames. The temperature of this flame was extremely high, even close to the temperature at the peak of the mountain of flames. "Be careful, this is book fire." The blood-robed elder immediately reminded him when he saw the bamboo slip spitting out book fire. Then he muttered, "This bamboo slip is strange today. It actually took the initiative to attack. Could it be that it discriminated against Night Demon because of his low cultivation?" When Yi Shang heard this, he frowned and muttered, "It would be interesting if a little bamboo scroll like you discriminated against my cultivation." At this moment, the bamboo slip that attacked Night Sorrow suddenly said, "With your strength, you are not worthy of accepting this mission. Give up." "That's true. Today I must accept this mission of yours." Night Sorrow was so angry that he laughed when he heard the bamboo slip speak. He first dodged the book fire. Then he activated the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique and used the divine essence trapping array to trap the bamboo slip in the array. He easily grabbed it in his hand. I'm not lying to you. With your strength, it's impossible to complete this mission. After being grabbed by Night Sorrow, the bamboo slip was like a carp in his hand, struggling non-stop. Since it's a hidden mission, it's naturally better to have a higher difficulty. 2. Night Sorrow had no intention of giving up. According to the blood-robed elder's instructions, he poured a large amount of divine essence into the bamboo slip. After seeing the bamboo slip clearly, he realized that this mission was indeed very difficult to complete. Stealing incense. Chapter 3160. There was more than one mission recorded on the bamboo scroll. There were 12 missions from the beginning to the end. Every one of them was extremely difficult. For example, one of them was to climb to the top of the Flame Mountain. Another one was to go to the Eternal Supreme World and kill a holy master from the 4 great sanctuaries. What surprised Night Sorrow the most was that one of the missions was to kill 12 of his peers. Only the students and elders of the Lu Tian Academy could do it. From the perspective of the Lu Tian Academy, this mission was a little too dark. However, for Night Sorrow, the most difficult mission was to raise his cultivation by 4 ranks. According to Night Sorrow, who was a lower earthly sovereign, he needed to surpass middle earthly sovereign, upper earthly sovereign, peak earthly sovereign, and successfully break through to heavenly sovereign. As for the other missions, they were also difficult, but they were basically hunting or finding items. Night Sorrow did not think much of it. What upset him the most was that the bamboo scroll had chosen to hide the mission reward. It did not tell him what he would get for completing the mission, only the punishment. Night Sorrow thought to himself, could it be that this mission only has a punishment and no reward? Night Demon, what's wrong? Seeing that Night Sorrow did not look too good, the red-robed elder immediately asked. In fact, it was because Night Sorrow was a first-class genius that he was so polite and wanted to build a good relationship with him. If it had been anyone else, he would not have cared at all. I was thinking, since this mission is so difficult, why didn't it mention the reward? Could it be that this hidden mission is just a punishment? Night Sorrow frowned and said, of course not. The reward for this hidden mission is very generous and will not disappoint you. It's just that it will not be announced in advance. The red-robed elder replied confidently. Could it be that it will be the same as climbing to the top of the Flame Mountain, where I will be able to meet the Emperor Slayer's avatar? If that's the case, I'd rather lose half of my points. Night Sorrow thought to himself, but he would not say it out loud. After thinking for a while, he continued to ask, has anyone completed such a hidden mission before? In the past, there were people who completed it. Basically, out of 20 people who took on the hidden mission, only one person could complete it. As the red-robed elder spoke, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, I believe that you will be the 1 in 20. To be honest, I'm not very confident. At this moment, Yi Shang smiled somewhat helplessly. What? Is the mission too difficult? The red-robed elder asked. There are a total of 12 missions. Overall, they are very difficult. The most difficult part would be going to the Eternal Paragon World and killing one of the Holy Lords of the 4 Great Holy Lands. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said. After some analysis, he felt that this mission was definitely the most difficult one for the cultivators in the foggy area. In fact, this mission was indeed very difficult for him to complete. Regardless of whether he was strong enough or not, it was very awkward for him to kill people from the Eternal Supreme World for the sake of a mission in the fog. Even if the character of those from the Holy Lands wasn't good, he still didn't want to do it. Hearing this, the red-robed elder laughed disdainfully. What are you afraid of? Eternal Supreme World is a group of chickens and dogs. There are no strong people at all. When you become a Heavenly Supreme, you can completely sweep through that place. Maybe. The main thing is that I don't know much about the Eternal Supreme World. I'm also not sure about the strength of those Holy Lords. Night Sorrow casually found an excuse. In fact, he judged that among those Holy Lords, other than the Supreme Longevity, the other 3 should have reached the Heavenly Supreme level. However, he didn't know whether they were lower, middle, or upper. As for half-step to Supreme Realm, Night Sorrow believed that with a few of them, it was impossible. Their strength shouldn't be too weak, but at most they should be lower Heavenly Sovereigns. Because the Eternal Supreme World is just a fish pond in our foggy area. When the fish is big, we will pull in the net. There won't be any big fish. The red-robed elder continued to speak disdainfully. He looked down on the Eternal Supreme World. The comparison of strength between the two sides was also the same. The current Eternal Supreme World, compared to the foggy area, was not worth mentioning in terms of the number of experts. Elder, if you say so, Night Demon can rest assured. Night Sorrow's voice responded as usual, but in fact, he was very unhappy in his heart. He thought to himself, one day I will let you all understand that the eternal supreme world is not a place to be trampled on. Then the red-robed elder continued, anyway, you are already here. Do you want to take a look at the ordinary missions? The ordinary missions for new students are an important means for you to obtain resources. Yes. Naturally, I want to take a look. Originally, I wanted to take on more missions and obtain a large amount of resources in one go, then start to cultivate. Night Sorrow and the red-robed elder walked side by side and said slowly. The red-robed elder didn't mind that Night Sorrow was walking side by side with him. He continued, okay. I'll take you there. You are the first to take on a mission, so this elder is giving you special treatment. You can take advantage of the opportunity and choose some of the missions with low difficulty and generous rewards. Then Night Demon thanks Elder again. It's just that right now, Night Demon doesn't have anything good in his hands, so I can't give it to you. Let's talk about it later. Night Sorrow said casually and politely. Hearing this, the red-robed elder's eyes lit up and unexpectedly said, then this elder won't be polite and will remember this favor. I hope that one day, Night Demon, when you soar, don't forget me, the red-robed elder. Good. If there is such a day, Night Sorrow will remember our old friendship. Night Sorrow replied and thought to himself, when I rise, I will purify you and let you return to the essence of the eternal supreme world. You people in the fog area basically came from the eternal supreme world, but now you treat the eternal supreme world as a fish pond. How infuriating. The red-robed elder naturally didn't know what Night Sorrow was thinking. When he heard his words, he immediately smiled and said, let's go. Let's take on missions. Okay. Night Sorrow said and followed behind the red-robed elder to the room where they took on missions. He began to follow the red-robed elder's instructions and took on some missions with low difficulty and generous rewards. In the end, he took on more than 20 missions in a row and left this place. According to the red-robed elder's instructions, he began to do missions. Because of the map and hints provided by the red-robed elder, Night Sorrow completed these missions very smoothly. It took about 3 years to successfully complete them and obtain a large amount of resources as a reward. It's time to start breaking through to a new realm. After completing all these missions, Night Sorrow returned to his residence and began to cultivate. However, just as Night Sorrow began to cultivate, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast sent a voice transmission. Can you share some of the resources in your hands with me? Stealing incense. Chapter 3161. Oh, you've recovered from your injuries and are preparing to break through to a new realm? Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice when he heard the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's words. Yes. I've basically recovered from my injuries and am preparing to continue cultivating. If you give me enough resources, I'll probably advance again very soon. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast continued. He had seen how many resources Night Sorrow had obtained in the space grotto heaven. Therefore, he was still very confident in advancing. Most people valued cultivation resources very much. When Night Sorrow heard the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's words, he immediately said, okay, I'll give you a portion first. If it's not enough, you can ask again. Thank you. I'll improve my strength as soon as possible and fight alongside you. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast was not polite at all to Night Sorrow. After saying that, he took the resources from Night Sorrow. He began cultivating in the space grotto heaven. This time he was prepared to completely consolidate the level of Earth Sovereign and advance to peak Earth Sovereign. Then he would consume the heavenly spirit flower that Night Sorrow gave him and advance to Sky Sovereign. This trip to the fog zone had a huge impact on him. Originally he thought that Earth Sovereign was already very strong, but now he realized that even Sky Sovereign was not necessarily enough. He had already locked on to the half-step extreme realm. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast still had self-awareness about the extreme realm. There's no need to stand on ceremony between us. In addition, there's a 5-fold time cultivation room in my residence. You can come out and cultivate. Night Sorrow immediately said when he saw that the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was preparing to cultivate in his space grotto heaven. This 5-fold time cultivation room was one of the benefits of his residence. That's great. If I can increase the efficiency by 5 times, I'll be one step closer to advancing to Sky Sovereign. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast, who was preparing to completely consolidate his Earth Sovereign realm, immediately became excited when he heard Night Sorrow's words. He came to the five-fold time cultivation room and immersed himself in cultivating. At this time, his aura was under Night Sorrow's control, and there were no flaws, so there was no need to worry about being exposed. Everyone, I'm going to start cultivating too. Are you coming out or continuing to stay in my space grotto heaven? Night Sorrow knew that this cultivation session might last for some time, so he asked the others. I'd better go out. Staying in the space grotto heaven all this time is really a bit depressing. Yin Tianlai immediately responded. After that, Night Sorrow helped him change his aura and appeared in the cultivation room. He was also interested in the use of the cultivation room. As for Baimei Sanren, Chen Qingyun, Yang Fan and the others, they also chose to come out. However, they were too embarrassed to ask Night Sorrow for resources, so they didn't cultivate in the cultivation room. Instead, like a butler, he helped Night Sorrow take care of his residents. Night Sorrow, on the other hand, had completely entered a state of cultivation. He knew that his cultivation level was too low for the Killer Heaven Academy, so he wanted to raise it as soon as possible. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep up with others' pace. With the large amount of resources provided by the Killer Heaven Academy, as well as the cultivation rooms that he could control, his cultivation would be much more efficient. However, even so, the road from Lower Earthly Sovereign to Middle Earthly Sovereign was not easy. In the cultivation room, he had been cultivating for 200 years, which was equivalent to 40 years in the real world, and he had only advanced to the peak of Lower Earthly Sovereign. There was still a bottleneck before he could reach Middle Earthly Sovereign. This bottleneck could not be broken through by absorbing resources. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow chose to come out. He knew that this bottleneck required battle and comprehension. Hence, he locked his target on one of the hidden missions. This hidden mission was for Night Sorrow to kill a lower heavenly sovereign evil demon in the Killer Heaven battlefield. Among the 12 missions, this mission was undoubtedly the easiest. Therefore, it was targeted as the first target. Logically speaking, in the first 1,000 years of entering the Killer Heaven Academy, Night Sorrow could have spent all his time in the reserve. However, the Killer Heaven battlefield where this mission was located was an area where the other senior students usually trained. Night Sorrow knew that if he wanted to complete the mission, he would most likely meet the other senior students. However, he had always grown through battles, so he decided to go to the Killer Heaven battlefield to kill evil demons. He did not want to live in peace. When Night Sorrow found the Red-Robed Elder and told him about this, the Red-Robed Elder frowned. The Red-Robed Elder looked at him with a frown and tried to persuade him. Night Demon, you know that there are no good people in the Killer Heaven Academy. The reason we gave you 1,000 years to improve your strength is so that you can catch up with your cultivation. Then, you can enter the Killer Heaven battlefield. However, you are preparing to enter so early. Isn't this risky? Elder. Among the 12 hidden missions that I have accepted, none of them can be completed in the mountain in front of me. If I wait for 1,000 years and still can't complete them, 50% of my points will be deducted. Hence, I have to take the risk. After the Red-Robed Elder finished speaking, Night Sorrow said firmly, "This hidden mission is really harmful." After listening to Night Sorrow, the Red-Robed Elder complained and continued, "If that's the case, I won't persuade you further. However, you have to be extremely careful. Only a genius who grows up is a real genius. Remember, danger lurks everywhere in the Killer Heaven battlefield. You can be killed in seconds at any time. Not only do you have to be careful of your senior brothers and sisters, but you also have to be aware of all kinds of dangers." "Thank you, Elder. Please bring me into the Killer Heaven battlefield." Night Sorrow waited for the Red-Robed Elder to finish speaking before he spoke immediately. "The entrance to the Killer Heaven battlefield is at the Devourer Peak. I'll bring you there. If you can make it out safely, send a voice transmission to me immediately. Don't wander around the academy alone. The senior students are more domineering and ferocious than you think." The Red-Robed Elder reminded Night Sorrow on the way to the Devourer Peak. As for Yishan, he was quite generous. Of course, this was also because he wanted to befriend Suamo. He knew that if Night Sorrow did not die prematurely, he would definitely grow up to be a big shot one day in the future. "Thank you, Elder, for taking care of me." Night Sorrow could feel the Red-Robed Elder's goodwill. As he replied, he followed the Red-Robed Elder with peace of mind. When they arrived at the Devourer Peak, the entrance to the Killer Heaven battlefield, there was no one around. The Red-Robed Elder smiled and said, "There's no one around. You shouldn't cause too much trouble if you enter. This is a brief map of the place. Take it and go in quickly." "All right. Thank you, Elder." Night Sorrow took the hand-drawn map and entered the Killer Heaven battlefield immediately after Night Sorrow took it. As soon as he entered the Killer Heaven battlefield, he felt an extremely strong chilly wind blowing past. Some of the skin on his cheeks and neck was torn off immediately. What a strong chilly wind. It seems like the environment here is really bad. Fortunately, the place where the demons are summoned is very close. Night Sorrow felt a terrifying chilly wind and immediately strengthened his god territory. Stealing incense. Chapter 3162. After strengthening the god territory, Night Sorrow felt a little better. He felt that if an honorable entered the killer field, he would probably be blown away by the cold wind. It was obvious. The cold wind was terrifying. According to the map, it will take about half a month to reach the crack of the abyss where the demons are. I hope everything goes smoothly. Recalling the map in his mind, Night Sorrow began to hurry along according to his memory. However, he had only taken a few steps when he heard a shocking sound of fighting. The sound of fighting sounded like thousands of troops fighting, but Night Sorrow looked again and again with the sea serpent's eye, but he did not see a single person at all. In this way, the earth-shaking sound of fighting seemed a little strange. After sensing it carefully, Night Sorrow thought to himself, it has some effect on the mind, but it's not too big. I should ignore it. After saying that, he ignored the sound of fighting and began to hurry on his way. However, Night Sorrow had not gone far when he heard the sound of fighting intensifying. Furthermore, before his eyes, a magnificent army of thousands of men and horses had appeared. Night Sorrow's scalp went numb when he saw this. Between the two sides, one side seemed to be the cultivators from the eternal supreme world in the foggy area, and the other side should be the natives of the foggy area. Their leaders were all half-step supreme realm existences. Behind them were thousands of sky sovereigns, and the rest were all earth sovereigns and honorables. And Night Sorrow was sandwiched in the middle. What's going on? He could not help but think. At this moment, the general of the foggy area cultivators suddenly shouted at Night Sorrow in the middle, "Night Demon, why aren't you returning to the formation? Do you want to be the vanguard?" You can actually call out my fake name. Could it be that I'm under some illusion? Have I entered an illusion? Night Sorrow, who was called out by the general, felt very surprised. He wondered if he was hallucinating because of the earth-shattering sound of fighting. Just as Night Sorrow was puzzled, the general roared again, "All right. Since you want to be the vanguard, it's up to you. Our army will send Night Demon as the vanguard. Do you have anyone who dares to come out and fight? I'll kill your Fang Xian Feng." Before Night Sorrow could react, a heavenly sovereign riding a war wolf rushed out from the aboriginal side. The heavenly sovereign was a woman. His appearance could only be considered average, but Night Sorrow was a little surprised when he took a closer look. This was because this woman had a vertical eye on her forehead. She looked almost exactly the same as Whirling Woman. A woman from the Hassa clan? He glanced at the Night Sorrow and asked in confusion, "What? Have you ever met my Hassa people? Since we're fated to meet, I'll leave your corpse intact." After she finished speaking, the woman from the Hassa race immediately cast an eye technique on Night Sorrow. The attack seems to have materialized. Night Sorrow guessed that this was all an illusion. However, the attack was so realistic that he could not block it. He immediately used the dark version of God's finger in the direction of the attack. He pointed at a long, straight black light. After the black light appeared, it immediately collided with the eye technique of the woman from the Hassa race. It successfully resolved the attack. You're quite capable. Let's go again. The Hassa woman's attack was blocked, and her face immediately showed a trace of astonishment. It's obviously an illusion. Why is everything so realistic? Night Sorrow, who was observing the woman from the Hassa race, was even more surprised when he saw the woman's expression. Whoa! At this moment, the war wolf that the woman from the Hassa race was riding suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. Its huge claws stomped on the ground and suddenly pounced on Night Sorrow. The woman from the Hassa race stood on the back of the wolf and took out a short sword to stab at him. It doesn't matter if it's real or an illusion. I'll defeat you first. Facing the woman and the wolf, Night Sorrow roared and completely used the 33 Heavens battle secret technique. He also activated the Green Phoenix battle armor. Holding the golden heavenly halberd, he fought with the woman. It had to be said that the combat strength of the woman from the Hassa race was very strong. Although her eye technique was not as powerful as the woman from the Hassa race, she was very strong in other aspects. When she cooperated with the giant wolf, it was difficult for Night Sorrow to deal with her. It's really a bit difficult to deal with. Night Sorrow and the woman from the Hassa race exchanged hundreds of moves, but neither of them could do anything to the other. At this time, the general of the cultivators suddenly roared, "If you don't kill her within 10 breaths, I will kill you directly." Night Sorrow turned his head and saw a giant scythe in the general's hand. This giant scythe was suffused with a deep black light and looked extremely evil. It was as if he was going to attack at any time. If it's an illusion, then I should be able to use the power of merit, right? After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow felt that it was impossible to encounter such a big battle in reality. After hesitating for a moment, he was ready to use the power of merit, because he could feel that if he could not deal with the other party within 10 breaths, he might really be killed. Divine Essence Trap Array. Thinking of this, Night Sorrow roared and set up the trap array. The woman from the Hasa race was trapped in it. Then he entered it and suddenly summoned the Dragon of Merit, so that his attack would be imbued with merit. He knew that the power of merit was the best thing to deal with demons and monsters. What kind of move is this? Seeing that there was a trace of golden light in Night Sorrow's attack, the woman from the Hasa race who was affected by the golden light immediately asked, "Why are you talking so much? Just accept your fate of destruction." Night Sorrow roared and used the power of merit to perform the Qingshen Godly Spear technique. With the power of merit, it was much easier for him to deal with the woman from the Hasa race in front of him. Affected by the power of merit, the wolf under the command of the woman from the Hasa race did not even dare to move and directly crawled on the ground. "The one who should be destroyed is you." At this time, the woman from the Hasa race roared and completely used her eye technique. She summoned 500 to 600 eyeballs and turned them into black holes, shooting countless black lights at Night Sorrow. "I have experienced all of these moves of yours and my attack is stronger than yours, so you have no effect at all." At that time, the woman from the Hasa race had summoned thousands of eyeballs, and that kind of attack was much more strange than the woman in front of him. Therefore, facing her attack, Night Sorrow did not feel much pressure. In the enclosed space he quickly killed her. "Very good. Night Demon, you have killed the enemy vanguard and obtained a bottle of Lower Heavenly Sovereign's Law Essence." After Night Sorrow killed the woman from the Hasa race, the general of the cultivators threw out a bottle of Lower Heavenly Sovereign's Law Essence. Night Sorrow took the bottle with a blank face and found that it was actually real. Then he looked again and found that the team in front of him had all disappeared. It felt as if he had just experienced a dream. Stealing incense. Chapter 3163. If I couldn't kill that Hasa woman within 10 breaths, would my head have been cut off by the giant scythe? Yishang thought to himself with lingering fear as he recalled the huge scythe he had seen. Everything that had happened just now seemed so real. Why don't you try and see if the rules and essence are real? At this moment, Little Seven suddenly spoke up to remind him. "I'll give it a try." The army in front of him had disappeared, but the small bottle in Night Sorrow's hand was still there. When he heard Little Seven's voice transmission, he immediately uncapped the bottle and prepared to absorb the rules and essence inside to see if this thing was real or fake. "Stop. Hand over the essence bottle in your hand. I'll spare your life." At this moment, a sinister voice suddenly sounded. It interrupted Night Sorrow, who was about to absorb the rules and essence. Night Sorrow looked at the other party and realized that it was a man with silver hair. The man's eyes were long and narrow and he looked very handsome. However, he gave off a very demonic feeling. He scanned the man with the sea serpent's eye and suddenly asked, "Do you know what's going on with the bottle in my hand? If you tell me what's going on, I'll give this bottle to you." To Night Sorrow, the rules and essence in the small bottle were not much, so it was nothing to give it away. He wanted to find out what had happened just now. "Ah, so you're a rookie who has never entered the battlefield of the Killer Heaven. Okay. Throw the bottle over and I'll tell you the whole story," the male cultivator said with disdain when he heard Night Sorrow's words. "Take it." Night Sorrow did not hesitate and threw the bottle in his hand to the other party. However, the male cultivator who caught the bottle sneered and said, "I can tell you that the rules and essence in this bottle can be swallowed directly. As for you, if you want to know other things, you'll need another 3 to 5 bottles." After saying that, he swallowed the rules and essence in the bottle directly and revealed a look of enjoyment. Night Sorrow continued to ask, "This bottle is the reward I got from the battle, right? If you want to know more, hand over a few more bottles. Otherwise you're just asking for trouble." The demonic male cultivator had a sinister smile on his face. Clearly, even if Night Sorrow were to give him a few more bottles, he wouldn't say anything. "Good. Very good." Understanding the male cultivator's attitude, Night Sorrow smiled and said, If that's the case, then I'll have to offend you. Oh my. Are you, a lower earthly sovereign, going to attack me, a lower heavenly sovereign? Seeing that Night Sorrow wanted to make a move, the evil-looking male cultivator said with a look of disdain, "Using a bottle of nomological essence to buy your life is already a fair price. You still have the extravagant hope of asking this and that." He was really courting death. Die. After saying this, the evil-looking male cultivator did not wait for Night Sorrow to make a move, and directly spat out a silver needle at Night Sorrow. After the silver needle was spat out, it immediately scattered into thousands of needles in the void. Night Sorrow's attack was overwhelming. Usually, I kill heavenly sovereigns. If you were an earthly sovereign, I really wouldn't take the initiative to attack. Using the sea serpent's eye to observe the other party's attack, Night Sorrow was sure that this person's attack was not much stronger than Whirling Woman's. In the past, he might not have been easy to deal with. However, although he had not advanced recently, his strength had increased by a lot. Facing these silver needles, he directly released his divine domain and successfully blocked them. I didn't expect a rookie like you to have some ability. Remember, the one who killed you is the green rock wasp, Duan Li? Duan Li roared and summoned back all the silver needles that he had shot out. He combined these silver needles into the length of a spear. Holding the array with both hands, he attacked Night Sorrow. Relying on his high cultivation, he was prepared to rely on melee attacks to completely crush Night Sorrow. This was an incomparably contemptuous attitude. You want me to understand that it will be easy for you to deal with me, right? Night Sorrow naturally understood Duan Li's intention. Then he took out his golden heavenly halberd and resisted without fear. Ever since he started cultivating, Night Sorrow had experienced countless battles. Among them there were many melee battles. Facing Duan Li's attack, he cooperated with him. Soon he suppressed Duan Li. How is this possible? Where did such a powerful earthly sovereign come from? Duan Li, who realized that he was being suppressed and continued to use his unique skill, was in disbelief. He thought for a moment and did not think that there would be any powerful earthly sovereign students in the Killer Heaven Academy. Therefore, he secretly guessed that Night Sorrow must be one of the best among the new batch of students who had deliberately hidden his strength and entered the Killer Heaven Academy battlefield. Thinking of this, he shouted, "Could it be that you are the new batch of students that the Academy has recruited?" "Yes. Tell me what happened to me just now. What's going on? Otherwise you will die." Night Sorrow roared with murderous intent. "You want me to die? You should be the one to die first." At this moment, Duan Li suddenly summoned a talisman and threw it at Night Sorrow. The talisman was a reward that he had obtained from the battlefield. He originally had 2 of them, but the other one was used when he was dealing with a heavenly sovereign. "If that's the case, I'll kill you first, then use the soul-searching skill on you." There was no big conflict between the 2 of them, but after Duan Li had obtained the talisman, he would not explain to him what was going on. Moreover, he wanted to kill him again and again, which made Night Sorrow really angry. He used the eye of the sea serpent to observe the talisman. He was sure that he could not block it, so he used the divine vitality trap array on the talisman and used his movement skill to evade it. Although the talisman was very powerful, it did not have any consciousness of its own. It was trapped in a sealed space and immediately exploded. Although the explosion shook the surrounding area, it did not cause any harm to Night Sorrow. Duan Li's mouth twitched when he saw this scene. He did not expect such a powerful talisman to be broken so easily. "This talisman is the same as you. It's too simple. Therefore it will still end in destruction." Night Sorrow looked at him and said coldly. He had given him a chance, but Duan Li did not cherish it. Then he completely suppressed the other party. Duan Li wanted to escape, but his speed was not as fast as Night Sorrow's. He had no ability to escape at all. At this moment he begged for mercy. I'll tell you everything I know." "No need. One of the missions that I received was to kill 20 people from the Killer Heaven Academy. You can be the first one. As for what I need, I'll find it myself," Night Sorrow said. Then he pierced Duan Li's energy center with his spear, took control of his soul, and used the soul-searching skill. Soon he understood what was going on in the battleground of the Slayer of Heaven. Stealing incense. Chapter 3164. It turned out that every cultivator who entered the Killer Heaven battlefield would encounter such a situation. 35xs encountering various illusory scenes would activate a battle adventure. If they completed the adventure, they would be rewarded. If they were killed in the battle, they would really die. In these adventures, there were not only scenes of thousands of soldiers and horses, but also other battle scenes. It was very magical. As for the small bottle of rules and essence, it could be consumed directly. The body would absorb it automatically. It was very effective and could help to break through the bottleneck. So that's how it is. It seems that if I want to level up, I can stay here and fight. But let's complete the mission first. After Night Sorrow figured out what was going on, he wanted to stay in the Killer Heaven battlefield and break through to become a Middle Earthly sovereign. However, he still rushed to the valley where the mission was. On the way to the valley, Night Sorrow encountered another illusion. This time he was a soldier guarding the city. He and some other soldiers were guarding the city. On the other hand, some of the natives of the foggy area were attacking the city in all shapes and sizes. In the end, Night Sorrow and the others successfully defended the city and obtained a bottle of rules and essence. He drank it on the spot and felt that his bottleneck had been touched. However, the amount was too small to break through the bottleneck completely. However, seeing that it had such an effect, Night Sorrow was satisfied. He decided that after completing the mission, he would stay in the battlefield and fight until he became a Middle Earthly sovereign before leaving the Killer Heaven battlefield. What a lonely valley. When Night Sorrow arrived at the valley where the mission was, he realized that it was very desolate. The entire valley was covered with yellow sand. There was no grass, no trees, and no living creatures. However, in the deepest part of the valley there was a small altar. Night Sorrow came to the altar. According to the instructions, he placed the bamboo scroll on the altar and activated it immediately. Night Sorrow thought that it would summon the devil. He did not expect that he would be sucked into the altar together with the bamboo scroll. When Night Sorrow came to his senses, he realized that he had come to hell. Some small devils were torturing some spirits. Most of these spirits were children. Their eyes were filled with fear, but they did not have the ability to resist. You're torturing the souls of some children, aren't you a little too much? After observing with the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow realized that the child's soul wasn't an illusion at all. They really existed. They were the souls of some children. He couldn't stand it any longer. He immediately killed all the demons and kept the tortured souls into his own space grotto heaven. Who dares to cause trouble in this king's territory? Where did my food go? Just as Night Sorrow killed all the little fiends, a deafening voice suddenly rang out. Then, a huge body appeared in the small world. It was a demon with 2 horns and 2 wings. It was dozens of times taller than Night Sorrow. Its entire body was black, just like the description on the bamboo scroll. Your food? I think you're the one who's eating. After observing this demon with the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow confirmed that this was the one he was looking for and immediately replied coldly. You are courting death. Since you've taken my food, you can make your own food. The demon with 2 horns and 2 wings roared in a low voice. Then it shot 2 black beams at Night Sorrow with its 2 horns. After these 2 black beams were shot out, they immediately turned into 2 black dragons in the void. They intertwined with each other and attacked Night Sorrow. Very strong. Night Sorrow, who was observing with the sea serpent's eye, could determine the strength of this attack. After saying that, he used the eternal reincarnation spear and attacked the 2 black dragons. After all, these 2 black dragons were not sky sovereigns. They were immediately imprisoned on the spot by the eternal reincarnation spear. Therefore, they could not avoid Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd. The golden heavenly halberd pierced through them consecutively. Damn it! Damn it! You should suffer the pain of the 18 levels of hell. Seeing his 2 black dragons being easily destroyed, the demon with 2 horns and 2 wings split into 3 ferociously. It summoned 2 doppelgangers and attacked Night Sorrow with 3 of them. Its 2 doppelgangers were exactly the same as its original body, and their combat strength was equally matched. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow felt a trace of pressure. Let us lend you a hand. At this moment, Little 7, who was in the space grotto heaven, suddenly spoke. Night Sorrow knew that Little 7, Little 5, and Little 9 were preparing to combine. He smiled and said, "Not for the time being. I can deal with it." As he spoke, Night Sorrow summoned the Dragon of Virtue in his body and fought with the demon in front of him. He knew that the power of virtue was extremely lethal to the demon in front of him. The 2 sides were completely complementary and counteracting each other. There was no need for the eternal divine tower to help at all. The power of virtue is indeed powerful. Seeing Night Sorrow summon the Dragon of Virtue and instantly suppress the demon in front of him, Little 7 immediately praised. Actually, my power of virtue is still a little weak. If I can reach the level of a Sky Supreme, I only need an instant to kill the demon in front of me. Night Sorrow responded to Little 7 while fighting against the demon with 2 horns and 2 wings. After summoning the Dragon of Virtue, he was able to fight with ease. At this moment, the demon with 2 horns and 2 wings began to recite an obscure incantation after being suppressed continuously. This incantation was the demon language that Night Sorrow could not understand. As it finished reciting the incantation, its body also completely evolved. Its originally pitch-black body immediately transformed into a child-sized demon after combining the 3 doppelgangers. After turning into a little demon, it immediately let out a sharp laugh. That cackling sound made people shudder in fear. Why do I feel that its strength has increased even though it has become smaller? Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe and found that after the demon with 2 horns and 2 wings transformed into a little demon, its aura skyrocketed by about 10 times. You're going right, human? The little demon's eyes were filled with intense resentment. With a roar, it used the sea serpent's eye to shoot 2 black lights at Night Sorrow. After these 2 black lights appeared, they did not attack Night Sorrow. However, these 2 black lights quickly wrapped around Night Sorrow's body. It gave him a very uncomfortable feeling. It was as if his soul had been corroded by something dirty. It was very uncomfortable. However, at this moment, Night Sorrow laughed and said, "Do you think that by increasing your strength, you can resist the power of virtue? Your attack attribute has not changed, so you will still be restrained." As he spoke, he added the power of virtue to his divine territory. He held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand again and attacked the little demon. At this moment, the golden heavenly halberd's every attack carried the power of virtue. It kept flashing with golden light. Steel fragrance. Chapter 3165. The flickering golden light made the little devil very uncomfortable. It was in a stalemate with Night Sorrow for a while, and it found that it still had a natural resistance to the power of merit. It immediately got ready to escape. Trying to escape? This small world is only so big. Where can you escape to? Seeing that the little devil wanted to escape, Night Sorrow was not going to let it go. He quickly chased after it. Night Sorrow, be careful. There is a formation in front. Just as Night Sorrow chased after it, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer suddenly warned him. Oh, there is a formation. Night Sorrow observed it with the sea serpent's eye, but he did not see anything. He was a little stunned. There is definitely one, but ordinary people should not be able to see it, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer said. The male hammer of the restriction-breaching hammer said, but our judgment can't be wrong. There's definitely a formation in front of us and it's not simple. If you enter it by mistake, you will be in big trouble. What should we do? Should we think of a way to break the formation? How should we break this formation? Yishan asked as he stopped and didn't chase after the little fiend. He could not see the formation in front of him with the sea serpent's eye, let alone think of a way to break it. At this time, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer said, if I am not wrong, the formation in front of us is a consumable formation. It can only be used a few times. As long as we think of a way to exhaust its energy, we should be able to break the formation. Okay, let me try, Night Sorrow said. He then took out a half-step Sky Sovereign short sword from his spatial device and drove it toward the formation. Boom. When the short sword flew to the formation was immediately activated, and an extremely powerful attack burst out. The little devil turned around and glared at Night Sorrow, who had seen through the formation. However, it did not make any sound. Night Sorrow looked at the little devil and said, I can see that you have exhausted all your abilities. Just wait to be destroyed. After saying that, he took out all kinds of divine weapons and bombarded the formation. As for this array formation, after destroying the 9 divine artifacts, it was completely devoid of energy. When the array ran out of energy, Night Sorrow immediately flew towards the little demon and continued to attack it. After being continuously sent flying by Night Sorrow, the little demon was completely enraged. It roared towards the sky and transformed into an even smaller demon. It looked like it was only the height of a palm. Night Sorrow, let's end this. I heard that this kind of demon, the smaller it is, the stronger it is. If I can transform a few more times, I'll surpass the lower heavenly sovereign level and become a middle heavenly sovereign. Little 7 said hurriedly when he saw Little Devil continue to transform. Good. I will do my best. Yishang said and cast a virtuous trapping array at the little devil in front of him, trapping him within it temporarily. The imp's life was in danger, and he didn't care about his virtuous power. He attacked the sealed spaces barrier with all his might. Soon he would be able to escape. At this time, Night Sorrow had displayed the 33 Heavens secret combat technique. I activated the Azure Phoenix battle armor and used it to shoot out a thick flame. It attacked the little devil. This flame was the essence of the flames absorbed by the Azure Phoenix battle armor on the Mountain of Flames. The temperature was so high that even Night Sorrow couldn't stand it. When he attacked the little devil, it immediately burned the little devil until it screamed in pain. Hearing the screams, Night Sorrow felt a little compassionate. However, he immediately thought of the tortured spirits of the children. He immediately made up his mind and used his golden heavenly halberd to kill the little devil in front of him. Then he used his flames to burn it to ashes. I finally completed the mission. I wonder if there are any rewards. After killing the little devil, Night Sorrow immediately took out the bamboo scroll and observed it. While he was observing, the mission on the bamboo scroll gradually turned from black to red. Then a bottle suddenly spat out from the bamboo scroll. Night Sorrow opened the bottle and found that it was green liquid. He immediately asked in confusion, "Do any of you know what this is?" "This seems to be evil demon essence." Xiaowu in the space grotto heaven replied and continued, "I heard that this evil demon essence is very magical. When smeared on the body it can strengthen the body. If I smear it on the golden heavenly halberd, can it increase the strength of the halberd?" Night Sorrow glanced at the golden heavenly halberd. Recently it had been used too much. Moreover, it had always been used against heavenly sovereign artifacts. Some cracks had already appeared. Night Sorrow wanted to repair these cracks and increase its strength. However, hearing this, Xiaowu said with some pity, "Evil demon essence is used against cultivators. Divine artifacts can't be used at all. If you want to increase the strength of the golden heavenly halberd, why don't you find some heavenly sovereign materials and directly refine it into a heavenly sovereign artifact? That way its strength will naturally increase." That's good too. Now that my understanding of heavenly sovereign has deepened, as long as I have enough materials, I should be able to do it. When Night Sorrow heard this, he put away the golden heavenly halberd and began to smear the evil demon essence all over his body. Originally, he was smearing it bit by bit and rubbing it all over his body. However, when he was finally done, the evil demon essence suddenly formed 9 evil demon runes on his body. These green evil demon runes looked like tattoos. Night Sorrow, who did not understand the evil demon language, did not know what they meant. However, after testing it out, he realized that his body's strength had indeed increased by a lot. At this time Night Sorrow said, "The mission in front of us has ended. Next we will return to the Killer Heaven battlefield and continue fighting. When I advance to Middle Earthly Sovereign, I will leave the Killer Heaven Academy and do another hidden mission. When the time comes I can also look for Little 8. It's time for the 3 levels to reunite." Hearing this, Little 7 and Little 9 were very excited. Xiaowu said, "If 7, 8 and 9 combine, then we can sense the location of the other levels. When the time comes, if we can find all of them, we can directly combine the city's supreme divine artifacts." That's great. However, if we want to gather every level, I'm afraid it will be very difficult. I heard that some of them are in the cities controlled by the 3 supreme divine artifacts. If we were to snatch them, we would definitely alarm them. That's no different from seeking death. Night Sorrow said after pondering for a while. Xiaowu continued, "We can talk about those levels in the future. However, if we can get them, we must not let them fall into the hands of others. If we reunite, it will be of great help to you in the eternal sovereign world." Of course, supreme divine artifacts are legendary items. How can they not be powerful? Night Sorrow said with a smile. Immediately, the dilapidated small world in front of him returned to the Killer Heaven battlefield. According to the map, the position he was at was equivalent to the edge of the Killer Heaven battlefield. The risk factor was the lowest. However, as he walked, Night Sorrow was still very vigilant. He knew that the Killer Heaven battlefield was not simple. Clan. Chapter 3166. Although he was at the edge of the battlefield and was not as dangerous as the center of the battlefield, there were still threats everywhere. As Night Sorrow traveled, he realized that the battlefield was rather desolate. Basically, he could only see the ruins of the battlefield and the ground that had been turned into sand after the battle. It was hard to even see a tree. Moreover, in the void there was a constant wind that could almost cut through the skin. If Night Sorrow had not used the evil demon essence to strengthen his body, He would have to use his divine territory to withstand this wind. About half a month had passed as he continued to walk in this manner. Night Sorrow finally entered another illusory realm. In the illusion, Yishang familiarized himself with it for a while and was shocked. This was because he had entered a martial arts competition for a spouse. Standing on the stage, he was the main character of the martial arts competition, accepting all kinds of challenges from the foggy area creatures. The foggy creatures below the stage were all grotesque and ugly. Some of them even made people want to vomit. This is really an illusion that makes me speechless. Night Sorrow was basically aware that the illusion was similar to a mission. However, if he failed the mission, he would be trapped in it and would never be able to leave. Therefore, he did not dare to be careless. "I'll challenge you." Just then, a creature in the foggy area that was made of sticky liquid flowed onto the stage like water. It gradually turned into a humanoid form with no facial features and opened its mouth to speak. "What is this?" Night Sorrow looked at the sticky monster and felt a little disgusted. He thought to himself, "If I lose to this thing and stay here with him, I'd rather die. My name is Venom. I'm your future partner." After the viscous monster Venom spoke again, its body turned into a mirror's appearance. Then, the mirror instantly turned into thousands of fragments and shot towards Night Sorrow. When fighting with sticky monsters, it seems like you can't let them touch you. Otherwise, you'll be sucked in and it'll be hard to break free. Night Sorrow, you must be careful. Seeing the sticky monster Venom turning into thousands of fragments, Xiaowu, who was in the grotto heaven, immediately reminded him. He had heard a little about this kind of sticky monster. "I won't let them touch me." Night Sorrow replied and released his divine territory. At the same time, he used his movement skill and began to dodge the attacks in front of him in the void. The sticky monster Venom's attack was different from ordinary hidden weapons. It was flexible and multi-sided. Furthermore, during the attack, each fragment could change its shape at any time. If it was an ordinary earthly sovereign, it would be impossible for him to avoid the thousands of attacks. However, Night Sorrow, with his exquisite movement skill, had succeeded. This made Venom very angry. When it realized that this move was useless, it immediately gathered its body together and flew into the void, turning into a green cloud. After it turned into a green cloud, it began to rain. Those raindrops were very dense. If one looked up from the stage, they would find that there was nowhere to hide. If I didn't guess wrongly, these raindrops are all part of your body, right? Let's see, your rain or my fire, my fire, my fire. Night Sorrow, who was looking up, knew that he couldn't avoid these raindrops no matter what. Therefore, he immediately activated the Green Phoenix battle armor and shot out flames. At the same time, he used the Golden Heavenly Halberd and shot out the Roaring Flame Demon Spear. The Roaring Flame Demon Spear also shot out a large amount of flames. Oh whoa! Whoa! After being burned by the flames, the sticky monster Venom immediately howled. Soon it revealed its original form. It looked like a pool of sticky liquid. "Xiaowu, how do we kill this sticky monster?" Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to look at the sticky monster Venom, but he didn't know what kind of life form it was. "I'm not sure either. However, everything in the world can be destroyed with force." Xiaowu replied without hesitation. Hearing this, Night Sorrow nodded and said, "That makes sense. Moreover, this is an illusion. I can use the power of merit." With this in mind, Night Sorrow used the Golden Heavenly Halberd to shoot out the Eternal Reincarnation Spear and a Dragon of Merit at the same time. "What is this?" Seeing the Dragon of Merit appear, the sticky monster Venom immediately felt a chill. It directly hid in the arena. This was also under the situation where Night Sorrow's power of merit was only at the supreme level. With the Little Devil's support, Night Sorrow's power of merit stabilized at the intermediate supreme level. However, when used against the sticky monster Venom in front of him, it could make the other party avoid it very much. It was obvious how effective it was. And although the sticky monster Venom kept dodging, its speed in the arena was not as fast as Night Sorrow's. Not long after, it was completely killed by Night Sorrow. It caused an uproar below the arena. The creatures in the fog below the arena didn't expect Night Sorrow to kill the sticky monster Venom in front of them so quickly. And Night Sorrow killed the sticky monster Venom in the illusion, so he didn't get the power of merit as a reward. However, he killed it and obtained an essence bottle. Thinking of Duan Li, Night Sorrow directly drank it. As expected. After drinking the essence, his body could immediately absorb it on its own, and he felt very comfortable. Good stuff. It's indeed good stuff. I can feel that if I get a few more bottles, I'll be able to get them. I can definitely advance to a Middle Earthly Sovereign. After drinking the essence bottle, Night Sorrow felt good. At this moment he looked at the many foggy area cultivators below the arena and said, "Who else wants to come up?" According to his judgment, if he defeated 3 or 4 more opponents, he should be able to advance to a middle earthly sovereign. Therefore he took the initiative to issue a challenge. "I also want to challenge you." At this moment, a foggy area cultivator with the appearance of a withered tree suddenly flew onto the arena. She flew onto the arena and transformed into a female cultivator. This female cultivator looks really beautiful. Why don't you stay here and fly together with her, Night Sorrow? Little Seven, who was in the space cave, immediately joked after seeing the female cultivator's appearance. The reason for that was because the appearance of the female cultivator was simply too beautiful. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that she was so beautiful that she could make the birds fall from the sky and the birds fall from the sky and put the flowers to shame. If I'm not wrong, she's a bewitching tree in the foggy area. No matter what she looks like, she'll make people think that she's beautiful. But in fact, she looks like a withered tree. Night Sorrow heard Little Seven's joke and immediately responded. At the same time, he used the sea serpent's eye to observe the other party. Night Sorrow realized that the other party's clothes had disappeared in an instant. What was exposed was a curvaceous and seductive smooth body. He couldn't help but be speechless. What's going on? Clan M. Chapter 3167. This is my body. Isn't it alluring? Do you like it? At that moment, the enchantment tree's alluring voice was heard. Yishang could clearly feel the bewitching aura in her voice. He immediately activated his power of merit and released his golden divine territory to isolate this aura. Don't be afraid. Let's have some fun. Just as Night Sorrow released his divine territory, the enchantment tree twisted her body and walked toward Night Sorrow step by step. Her movements were no different from a real person. In fact, Night Sorrow couldn't see any flaws even with the sea serpent's eye. Little Seven teased, "I think this is the battlefield of Slayer of Heaven. Seeing that you're bored from cultivating all year round, it's adding some fun to you." "What fun? This enchantment tree is very strange," Yishan said in annoyance. Then he shot a divine finger at the enchanting tree that was walking over. "Don't be so serious." Facing Night Sorrow's divine finger, the enchantment tree didn't seem to be angry at all. He said lazily and dodged the attack unhurriedly. "Why is she able to dodge my divine finger even though her movements seem slow?" Seeing the enchantment tree's movements, Night Sorrow secretly guessed that he might be under an illusion. He felt that if that wasn't the case, he wouldn't be unable to see through her real body. He immediately used his power of merit to purify his body. TSK. What are you afraid of? This is her real body. Come on, let's have some fun." The woman transformed from the enchanting tree slowed down when she saw the power of virtue radiating from Yishang's body. However, she continued to speak. After completely purifying his body, Night Sorrow could see that the enchantment tree was still naked, but he could see her movements clearly. The enchantment tree's speed was very fast. It didn't look like she was in a hurry at all. While dodging the divine finger, her face suddenly turned cold and she suddenly let out a banshee-like roar. From the appearance of an extremely alluring woman, she turned into a bloody demon. Then he sneered, "Since you don't want to do it, then you'll have to do it the hard way." However, he attacked Night Sorrow fiercely. She knew very well that it was impossible for her to defeat Night Sorrow with her illusions and bewitchment techniques. Because his heart was like a boulder, unmoved by the 8 winds. "You're the one who gave me the wine, how is that a toast?" Facing the enchanting tree that had transformed into an evil demon, Night Sorrow said. Then he used the golden heavenly halberd and unleashed the mysterious azure divine spear art. This was a series of continuous attacks, and after it was released, it immediately tangled with the enchanting tree. After the battle began, Night Sorrow's fighting spirit was completely aroused. It was as if the more he fought, the braver he became. When the enchanting tree discovered that it could not charm Night Sorrow, it gradually showed that it was lacking in stamina during the battle. Although her illusions and secret techniques were very powerful, making it impossible for others to see through her, her true battle prowess was not very strong. Soon he was suppressed by Night Sorrow. Then she used a few more illusions in succession, but they were all seen through. Night Sorrow's merit power was very effective against her illusions. Often, when the enchanting tree used her illusions, he could break them directly. It was very powerful. Both sides fought for about 30 breaths. The enchanting tree, who was at a disadvantage, suddenly shouted, "Stop, I admit defeat." "You can still admit defeat here?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow was a little surprised. Just as he was surprised, the enchanting tree suddenly flew down from the arena. Then Night Sorrow successfully obtained the second bottle of essence. After drinking the essence, Night Sorrow felt that his strength had increased again. He was only one step away from becoming a Middle Earthly sovereign. At this time, his fighting spirit was even stronger. Standing on the arena, he looked down at the cultivators in the foggy area and said, "Who else? I'll do it." As soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking, a stone monster came up from below. After he got on the arena, he did not speak at all. He turned into the shape of a mountain and crushed down on Night Sorrow. His powerful appearance was as if he was going to destroy the world. "Good. Maybe you are the key to me becoming an earthly sovereign." Facing the stone spirit, who had turned into a mountain, Night Sorrow looked up to the sky and roared. Then he used the golden heavenly halberd to attack with the eternal reincarnation spear. This move, when used alone, had the magical effect of confinement. Moreover, it consumed very little energy. Therefore he liked to use it recently. Boom. After the two collided, both sides retreated. Night Sorrow was almost blasted into the arena. Obviously he had also encountered a huge force. The enchanting tree obviously relied on illusions and illusions. However, those were nothing to Night Sorrow. At this time, the stone spirit was an existence that liked to fight head-on. It was completely different from the enchanting tree. Night Sorrow also chose to fight head-on with it. He wanted to fight to his heart's content. "You are very strong, but you are no match for me." Facing Night Sorrow's eternal reincarnation spear, the stone spirit was not paralyzed at all. This was because he did not have a heart and was not affected at all. He immediately turned into a huge stone man and kept trampling on Night Sorrow. These attacks looked very clumsy and primitive. However, the pressure that they brought to Night Sorrow was no less than that of the enchanting tree. On the contrary, it was even more terrifying. This was because the hardness of the stone spirit was too high. It was simply beyond what Night Sorrow had seen. At this time, Little Seven suddenly said, "If you integrate the essence of the stone spirit into the golden heavenly halberd, the golden heavenly halberd will definitely become a true heavenly sovereign divine artifact. Moreover, its grade will not be low. I think you should cherish this opportunity." "Is that true? Then I should really deal with it properly." Hearing Little Seven's voice transmission, Night Sorrow immediately became spirited. He could indeed feel that the hardness of the stone spirit was extraordinary. It was much stronger than an ordinary lower heavenly sovereign. Of course it's true. Normally, this kind of stone spirit absorbs the essence of heaven and earth and eventually develops spiritual intelligence. It has a wonderful effect when integrated into a divine artifact. Little Seven continued and then reminded him, "But you have to be careful. This kind of stone spirit absorbs the essence of heaven and earth and will not be tired when fighting. In a situation where your strength is about the same, it will be very difficult to defeat it. I'm only worried that this is an environment and the stone spirit is not real." Night Sorrow replied Little Seven confidently. This was because he had already thought of a way to deal with it. No matter what, this stone spirit was a creature of the fog region. It was born with evil and was very violent. Just as Night Sorrow was about to attack again, he directly set up the virtuous trapping array and then continuously sent the power of merit into the array. He let the power of merit remove the evil aura from the stone spirit's body and prepare to leave only the good aura in it. "You want to use your power of merit to purify me?" Wishful thinking. "But since I was born, I have absorbed all the aura of the fog. There is no good in me at all." The stone spirit could sense Night Sorrow's intention and immediately laughed out loud. At this time Night Sorrow also laughed and said, "If it is as you say, then it is really perfect." Clan M. Chapter 3168. If it was the same as what the stone spirit said, then after it was purified, it would completely turn into a stone without consciousness. This way, Night Sorrow could totally use it to upgrade the golden heavenly halberd to a heavenly supreme divine artifact. "What are you laughing at?" Seeing Night Sorrow also laughing, the stone spirit realized that something was wrong. It was different from cultivators. If it lost consciousness, it would completely fall and have no chance of reincarnation. After shouting a question, it struggled frantically. Wanting to struggle now, isn't it a little too late? Seeing the stone spirit struggling non-stop, Night Sorrow continued to increase the strength of the power of virtue, continuously purifying this spirit. And the power of virtue was indeed the nemesis of all demons and monsters. At the later stage, this stone spirit was already going all out, but it was still unable to break through the shackles and was completely purified by Night Sorrow. Golden Heavenly Halberd. It's time for you to advance. After purifying the stone spirit, Night Sorrow threw it into the Golden Heavenly Halberd without any hesitation, letting the Golden Heavenly Halberd absorb it. Before long, the Golden Heavenly Halberd bloomed with a sky-piercing light on the stage. Clearly it was going to advance. Right at this time, countless tribulation clouds drifted over from the void. Following the arrival of the tribulation clouds, the marriage contest stage also disappeared. What replaced it was a dilapidated building complex. It looked like it had already experienced countless years of wind and rain, corroded beyond recognition. Even the spears stabbed into the ground were broken by the cold wind that blew past. Golden Heavenly Halberd, follow me to transcend the tribulation. At this time, Night Sorrow released his divine domain, holding the Golden Heavenly Halberd in the void, waiting for the lightning tribulation to arrive. While waiting, he consumed the essence obtained from defeating the stone spirit. Immediately, his brows furrowed, feeling that he was also ushering in a breakthrough. An instant later, Night Sorrow's lightning tribulation also arrived. Dual lightning tribulations intertwined, the momentum was simply earth-shaking, making mountains and rivers collapse. Dual lightning tribulations descending at the same time. Come at the right time. Just nice, I can use you guys to increase the strength of my body. Holding the Golden Heavenly Halberd, Night Sorrow did not have any intention of cowering in the face of dual lightning tribulations, directly charging into the clouds. He fought frantically. In about an hour he had successfully defeated the lightning tribulation avatar. After defeating the thunder calamity body, Night Sorrow had become a middle earthly sovereign, while the Golden Heavenly Halberd had officially become a heavenly sovereign divine weapon. Even the faint glow on the spear had changed. It looked much thicker than before. It feels easier than I thought. After overcoming the thunder calamity, Night Sorrow stood in the void with the Golden Heavenly Halberd in his hand. After going through the continuous battles in the Killer Heaven battlefield, he was obviously tired. Therefore, he left the battlefield according to the instructions on the map. He returned to his residence. After returning to his residence, Night Sorrow immediately saw the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and the others. At this time, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's cultivation had increased by a lot compared to when he left. However, he was still a distance away from the peak of the earthly sovereign level. He came out to greet Night Sorrow and continued to cultivate. On the other hand, Bai Mei Sanren's cultivation did not increase much. This made Night Sorrow feel a little apologetic. Therefore he took out some resources and handed them to Bai Mei Sanren. Brother, I've neglected you since we came to the foggy area. You should absorb more resources and strive to break through to the heavenly sovereign level as soon as possible. As for me, I'll be leaving the Killer Heaven Academy for a period of time. When I return, I'll bring you a lot of resources. Brother Yishang, you're too courteous. I followed you to the foggy area, but I didn't help at all. I've even been consuming your resources. That's not good. Why don't you let me leave the Killer Heaven Academy and explore on my own? Bai Mei Sanren said with some embarrassment. He felt that if he didn't do anything, he would just continue to consume Night Sorrow's resources. This was no different from being a pet. Therefore he could not accept it. After all, he was Night Sorrow's senior. Aha, you don't have to be so polite, brother. It's not time for you to contribute yet. When the war starts in the future, you'll have a chance to fight. For now, we're going to travel at night. We'll secretly increase our strength. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never cared about the gains and losses of resources. He often gave resources to his seniors and juniors. It was the same now. However, at this moment, Bai Mei Sanren said, Brother Night Sorrow, I know that you're a righteous person who doesn't care about resources. But I don't deserve it and it'll affect my cultivation. So, it's better for you to explore on your own. If I encounter any trouble, I'll find a way to contact you. Upon hearing Bai Mei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow nodded and said, Then brother, try to explore near the Killer Heaven Academy so that we can take care of each other. If we're too far away, we might not be able to contact each other. I won't go too far. A few days ago, I saw on the map that there's a Qinshuang city not far from the Killer Heaven Academy. I'm going to walk around there. Seeing that Night Sorrow had agreed to his request, Baimei Sanren immediately told him his destination. This was something that he had thought through long ago. All right, I'll send you there, brother. I need to use the teleportation portal there too. Night Sorrow responded and took out some resources for Baimei Sanren again. He handed them to him and said, "Brother, you must bring the white jade with you at all times to prevent yourself from losing your mind." I will." Baimei Sanren responded and took out some dishes and a few jars of wine to drink with Night Sorrow, Qin Qingyun and his wife. As for the cultivators that Night Sorrow had brought out from the Cloud's Breath mine, they had been cultivating in seclusion and did not participate. "Sigh. I miss my hometown. Now that I think about it, I've left the realm of gods for so long. I wonder how my family is doing." After drinking 2 jars of wine, Night Sorrow thought of his family far away in the realm of gods. Since he was so far away from the realm of gods, he could not sense the condition of his clone and did not know whether his family was doing well or not. He could not help but feel worried. Who doesn't miss home? In this dark, foggy area, facing cultivators all day long with no hope at all, it's quite uncomfortable sometimes. Qin Qingyun, who had also drunk a lot of wine, lamented. The current Yishang felt like he was about to soar to the heavens with a single step. However, he and his wife had been stuck at the level of half-step to earthly sovereign. They felt even worse than Baimei Sanren. Upon hearing this, Night Sorrow looked at the two of them and said, "Don't worry, I'll find a way to help you find elixirs that can improve your body so that you can continue to increase your strength. I'll find a new goal." He knew how torturous it was for a cultivator to not be able to improve their cultivation. Therefore, he had made up his mind to search for suitable treasures for the two of them on this trip. "Thank you, Brother Night Sorrow. I won't stand on ceremony with you." Qin Qingyun cupped his fists at Night Sorrow. He was looking forward to this trip. The ones who were looking forward to this trip the most were Little 7 and Little 9. They really wanted to reunite with Little 8. Clan M. Chapter 3169. When Little 7 and Night Sorrow first met, Night Sorrow was still very weak and could not withstand a single blow from him. But now Night Sorrow had advanced to Middle Earthly Sovereign, and his divine weapon, Golden Heavenly Halberd, had also advanced to Heavenly Sovereign. And he and Little 9 were still Earthly Sovereign divine weapons, so he felt very disappointed. Therefore he wanted to quickly reunite with Little 8 and form a Heavenly Sovereign divine weapon, so that his existence would have more meaning. They all knew that Night Sorrow was doing something big to save the Eternal Supreme World. "Brother Night Sorrow, how do you think the half-step to Supreme Realm Coiling Dragon Spear and Supreme Longevity will integrate the Eternal Supreme World?" After following Night Sorrow out of Lutian Academy, Baimei Sanren asked curiously. "I'm not sure, but I believe that the two seniors will not disappoint." Night Sorrow said, then continued, "Speaking of which, my mission is to kill the holy lords of the 4 great sanctuaries. If they do not have the determination to protect the Eternal Supreme World, I don't mind killing one of them." "Then why don't we go back and take a look, then come back?" Baimei Sanren was eager to try. He knew that in the foggy area, one's strength would increase faster than in the Eternal Supreme World. But he wanted to go back and see if Yen had appeared. This was the greatest hope in his heart. After all, he had followed Yen for many years in his previous life. "Since brother has spoken, after we find Little 8, we will return to the Eternal Supreme World and take a look. When the situation there is stable, we will bring you back." After hearing Baimei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow was also worried about Supreme Longevity, Jingyun, Wu Lingfei and the others. He knew that as long as they were integrated, there would be battles and killings. If there were battles and killings, there would be deaths. It was very cruel. He wanted to bring Jingyun, Wu Lingfei, and the other friends who had fought with him to the foggy area to cultivate. After all, in the Eternal Supreme World, the speed of increasing one's strength was too slow and could not keep up with the pace. "Okay, let's go back and take a look. I mainly want to see if Lord Yen has appeared," Baimei Sanren said with a smile. He missed her very much. "Good. Let's go and investigate. Also, I want the Supreme Longevity to take a look at the ancient coffin in my space. Although he might not be able to open it, his knowledge will definitely surpass mine." Night Sorrow said and brought Baimei Sanren and the rest to Shri City. Using the teleportation formation, he teleported to Qianshuang City and then to Sea Dragon City where Little 8 was. This Sea Dragon City was backed by a black sea of evil. There were many evil sea dragons in the sea. These sea dragons were natives of the foggy region. They were extremely ferocious and warlike. Only in this sea dragon city could they live in peace with cultivators and trade with the things in the Sea of Evil. These sea dragons look very similar to true dragons, but their auras are too evil. Their murderous aura is even stronger than that of ordinary cultivators in the foggy region. Walking side by side with Night Sorrow in Sea Dragon City, Baimei Sanren felt uncomfortable being suppressed by their auras after encountering a few sea dragons. He could not help but complain. Maybe it's because these sea dragons have been living in the Sea of Evil for a long time. Night Sorrow, who had also checked the sea dragon's auras, said, "The auras of these sea dragons were dozens of times more evil than the stone spirits he encountered in the battlefield of Shri City. This meant that these sea dragons were extremely violent and aggressive." Then he continued, "But this is not important. Let's go to the center of the city to look for Little 8. According to the clues provided by Little 9, Little 8 should be in the center of Sea Dragon City. If one paid a fee they could cultivate there. Therefore, according to Night Sorrow's judgment, it was not difficult to enter Little 8. If he wanted to merge with Little 7 and Little 9, he only needed to use the power of merit to purify him. However, when Night Sorrow and the rest came to the center of the city to ask around, they were completely speechless. It turned out that Little 8 had been swapped by the Upper Heavenly Sovereign, the Sea Dragon King, and brought to the Sea of Evil. He had been placed in the city of the Sea of Evil. I wonder if we can go to the city of the Sea of Evil? After inquiring about Little 8, Yishang took out some resources and handed them to the cultivator he was holding back before continuing to ask. The cultivator who had been questioned was very impatient, but when he saw that Night Sorrow had taken out a lot of resources, he immediately smiled and said, "If you want to go to Sea Dragon City to trade, you will have the chance. But you have to go with the team from the city governor's mansion. Otherwise, once you enter, you will be attacked. The Sea Dragon clan has hundreds of thousands of people, and every one of them is very powerful. There is no chance to barge in." "Then how can we join the team from the city governor's mansion?" Night Sorrow asked. He believed that the resources he had given were enough, so the other party would not be impatient immediately. Hearing this, the male cultivator suddenly said, "Don't tell me you are interested in the Eternal Demon Tower? That thing can't be snatched. Otherwise you will definitely be killed by the sea dragons." Of course we don't want to snatch it. We just want to go and take a look. After all, it is the legendary Supreme Divine Artifact," Night Sorrow said with a look of anticipation. Seeing Night Sorrow's expression, the male cultivator was speechless. "To tell you the truth, that is only a part of the Eternal Demon Tower. It is not precious at all. If it is really a Supreme Divine Artifact, why would the city governor give it to the Sea Dragon King?" "That's true. I won't look." Night Sorrow nodded and did not continue to entangle with the male cultivator. Instead, he found another female cultivator and handed over some resources. He asked, "May I know how to join the city governor's mansion?" "If you want to join the city governor's mansion, it is very simple. Just sign up and pass the assessment." After the female cultivator saw the resources in her hand, she immediately led Night Sorrow and the rest to a building outside the city governor's mansion. At this time, there were cultivators lining up to sign up in the building. Obviously, they all wanted to join the city governor's mansion. "Let's sign up first and enter the city governor's mansion. Let's see if we can follow them into the Sea of Evil." Night Sorrow sent a message to Baimei Sanren and joined him in the queue to sign up. After signing up, the two of them each received a voice transmission stone and found an inn to rest. 3 days later, Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanren received a notice to go to the city governor's mansion to participate in the assessment. The assessment was very simple. It was to defeat an ordinary lower earthly sovereign. For Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanren, this was not difficult at all. After passing the assessment, the two of them, along with other cultivators who had passed the assessment, were brought to the city governor's mansion's military camp. After entering the military camp, more than 20 cultivators who had just joined were immediately gathered together. Then, the 4 centurions in the military camp appeared one after another and started to select people. Obviously, they were preparing to add them to their own team. Clan. Chapter 3170. Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanren were not peak earthly sovereigns. Among the 20 or so newly joined cultivators, their realms were below average. Therefore they were selected later on. Baimei Sanren was selected to join a team of centurions called Black Revelation. Then he was separated from Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow joined a team of centurions called Yunyi. Their team had lost a lot of members during the battle. After adding Night Sorrow and 7 other cultivators, they barely made up 100 people. In this team, Centurion Yunyi was a middle heavenly sovereign. His strength was not bad. As for the Decurions, they were all half-step heavenly sovereigns. There was a certain gap between them and Yunyi. After Night Sorrow and the rest were brought back to the station, Yunyi ordered a Decurion to explain the rules to them. Everyone who joined the city governor's mansion was basically a mercenary. Therefore they would receive a corresponding reward every time they went to war. On normal days, the city governor's mansion's garrison was mainly responsible for maintaining the stability of Sea Dragon City and the surrounding areas. Occasionally, they would go to eliminate some troublemaking tribes near Sea Dragon City. Another reason was that they would accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil periodically to conduct some transactions. Lord Yunyi, we still have to accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil. Won't we be attacked by the sea dragons there? After Yunyi finished speaking, he asked everyone to ask questions. Night Sorrow pretended to be puzzled. Don't worry. Although the sea dragons are all very violent, they still abide by some rules. We will accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil mainly to conduct battles and transactions. The few who participate in the battles may be in danger of dying, but the rest will be safe. Centurion Yunyi was quite easygoing. After Night Sorrow asked his question, he began to explain. After explaining this, he suddenly said, "That's right. Every time we go to the Sea of Evil for a battle, we will select 16 people to fight. Every team of 100 must choose 4 people to fight. This is a mission and also an opportunity. Whoever wins the battle will receive an extremely generous reward. If any of you are interested, you can tell me in advance." Lord Yunyi, when will we go to the Sea of Evil? What's the reward for fighting the sea dragon? This time, Night Sorrow didn't continue speaking, but a new cultivator asked. They were different from Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's goal was to search for the 8th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, while they were all here for resources. Naturally, he was very interested in such matters. City Lord, we go to the Sea of Evil once every 100 years. There are still 40 years before the next trip. After Centurion Yunyi finished speaking, he continued, the rules of the battle are like this. No matter what level of cultivation we send out, the Sea of Evil will send out a sea dragon of the same level. Generally speaking, sea dragons of the same realm are stronger than us. Therefore, the City Lord's mansion's winning rate every year was not high. Only about 20% to 30%. Thus, the City Lord will not only reward cultivators with large amounts of resources, but will also place them in important positions. After he finished speaking, he added, even if you are defeated in a duel, as long as you are not killed, you will be heavily groomed when you return. To encourage everyone to participate in the battle against the sea dragon. It seems that the sea dragon is not easy to deal with. After Centurion Yunyi finished speaking, the new cultivators began to whisper among themselves. Since they were all mercenaries, there weren't many rules. Yunyi was very easygoing and didn't interrupt them. After they finished their discussion, he explained to them what they needed to do on a daily basis. Then he assigned them to a Decurion who was short of manpower. ****. Why did he assign me a middle earthly sovereign this time? What is Lord Yunyi thinking? I have always been filial to him on a daily basis. After Night Sorrow was assigned to a Decurion called War Demon, he reported to the City Lord. The Decurion, War Demon, who was drinking in the barracks, immediately said unhappily. Then he ignored Night Sorrow and continued to drink with his 3 subordinates. After waiting for about an hour, they were still drinking. Night Sorrow asked with a smile, Decurion, I am here. Are you going to accept me or not? ****. We are drinking, you don't have the chance to talk nonsense. Slap yourself or else I'll tear your head apart. War Demon immediately roared when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Night Sorrow was immediately angered by his words. He sneered and said, what do you mean by slap myself? I don't understand. Why don't you demonstrate? The other party was refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Yi Shang felt that there was no need to be polite with such a person. Oh my. You trash, you have quite a temper. Jianghu, go and destroy his Dantian. After Night Sorrow spoke, War Demon immediately looked at a cultivator beside him. Lord War Demon, Lord Yunyi just sent him here. It's not good to destroy him directly, is it? Jianghu said hesitantly after War Demon finished speaking. He was an upper earthly sovereign and was confident in his own strength, but he was afraid of offending Yunyi. Lord Yunyi, I don't care about such things. Go ahead and do it. Even if something happens, I will take care of it, War Demon said indifferently. He knew that Yunyi was a good person who wouldn't offend anyone. Okay. Since Lord War Demon has said so, I will take action, Jianghu replied, then looked at Night Sorrow and said, what an arrogant newcomer. The price you will pay for your arrogance is your Dantian being destroyed. According to Lord Yunyi, joining the City Lord Mansion is just a mercenary. You want to destroy him just because of a disagreement? How ruthless. Night Sorrow looked at Jianghu with disdain. To him, fighting a lower heavenly sovereign was a piece of cake, let alone an upper earthly sovereign. Looking at Jianghu's confident look, he wanted to laugh. Ah, you are really a rookie. In this foggy area there are fights everywhere. Where there are fights there are casualties. What is this? Jianghu, who was laughing, drank to the point. Even though he was speaking from a distance, the smell of alcohol could be felt. It made people feel nauseous. He roared and threw a punch at Night Sorrow. This punch was not a threat to Yishang, but even an ordinary middle earthly sovereign would be able to withstand it. Therefore Night Sorrow casually threw a punch and sent him flying back. Bastard! How dare you fight back? Jianghu, who had been thrown back, felt some injuries in his body. In his anger he was half sober. He then took out a light sword and said, do you dare to fight with me outside? I don't want to break this barack. No need. You don't have that ability. Facing Night Sorrow, who was facing Jianghu, he snorted coldly in response. Hearing this, Jianghu was furious and said, arrogant. He immediately displayed his unique skill in the barack. All-directional quaking sword. Clang. Chapter 3171. When Jianghu executed the Shifang Domain Quake Sword, it immediately stirred up a huge commotion in the barracks. Logically speaking, under such a situation the barracks would definitely be destroyed. No matter how sturdy the barracks were, it was still used for living. It couldn't be as sturdy as a divine weapon. However, right after he made his move, Night Sorrow immediately struck with the Eternal Reincarnation Spear. As soon as this move was executed, Jianghu, who wasn't very strong to begin with, was immediately fixed on the spot. The move that he was halfway through immediately vanished into thin air. I told you not to go out. Night Sorrow, who had casually suppressed the aftermath of Jianghu's attack, said coldly after capturing him. Jianghu had never thought that he would be captured in one move. He felt that it was because he had been careless. He was very unconvinced, but he couldn't find an excuse to say something. So you're an expert who can fight above your level. The War Demon, who had been drinking wine, immediately became interested when he saw Night Sorrow defeat Jianghu so easily. He said, very good. I, the War Demon, lack someone like you under my command. Let go of Jianghu. You're my man from now on. Who are you calling me your father, with? If I remember correctly, you were the one who wanted to destroy my Dantian. The War Demon, who was a Decurion, wanted to reconcile. However, Night Sorrow didn't indulge him at all. He coldly retorted. What? I gave you face but you don't know what's good for you? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the War Demon immediately stood up and said furiously, since you want your Dantian to be destroyed, come on then. As he spoke, he gave a look to his left and right, signaling the two people beside him to attack together. It seems that this barracks is destined to be destroyed today. Night Sorrow, who was looking at the War Demon and the other two cultivators, released his spirit power and scanned the surroundings. If they started fighting now, Centurion Yunyi would definitely be alerted. He didn't think there was anything wrong with that. Then he faced the War Devil and the others and started to fight them. Although Night Sorrow was only a middle earthly sovereign, he could already fight with a heavenly sovereign. As such, War Demon, a half-step heavenly sovereign, and the other two upper earthly sovereigns were naturally no match for him. Not long after that, he defeated the War Devil and the others. After being controlled, the War Devil and the others sobered up and realized the severity of the situation. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Yunyi, asking him to take charge of the situation. But Yishang didn't kill them because he knew that Yunyi was watching the battle in front of him. War Demon. What's going on with you guys? Yunyi asked gloomily as he hovered in the air. He was usually very easygoing, but at this moment he was somewhat dignified. Reporting to Centurion, this newcomer challenged us as soon as he was assigned here. We couldn't bear to be humiliated, so we fought with him. I didn't expect that I would be no match for him. After Yun Yi said that, the war devil twisted his words and forced logic. Night demon, is that what happened? Upon hearing the war demon's words, Yun Yi immediately looked at Night Sorrow. If you're weak, you'll be beaten. Night Sorrow didn't explain the matter. Instead, he said casually, "Ah, good. Well said, the cause and effect of this matter isn't important. What's important is whose fist is harder." Upon hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yun Yi smiled. Since the Night Demon won, he'll be the Centurion from now on. As for the War Devil, he'll serve him in the future. As for how the matter between you two will be resolved, I don't care. After saying that, he flew away, no longer caring about the matter. However, Yun Yi didn't fly far before he sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Demon. You must go to the Sea of Evil in a few decades. If you can defeat the Sea Dragon, you'll be rewarded handsomely. Alright, I'll think about it. Night Sorrow replied to Yun Yi. Then, he looked at the War Devil and the others and said, "Summon all my subordinates." Yes. The War Devil was stunned at first. Then, he somewhat reluctantly summoned his subordinates. However, he knew that everyone, including himself, would be Night Sorrow's subordinates in the future. He couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He secretly lamented that he had been too rash today. From today onwards, I'll be your centurion. After the War Devil gathered everyone, Night Sorrow immediately made them stand in a row and announced. Regarding this matter, these people had already received the voice transmission. Therefore, none of them showed any surprise. Seeing that no one had any intention of refuting, Night Sorrow looked at the War Devil and said, "From now on, the War Devil will be our team's vice-captain. The daily affairs will be arranged by the War Devil." "Thank you, Captain." When the War Devil heard this arrangement, he immediately became spirited. Then Night Sorrow continued, "Arrange a place for me to stay. If there's nothing else, don't disturb my cultivation. Also, I have a friend called White Brows. He's been assigned to Centurion Black Flag's subordinate. Help me find out more about him." "Captain, leave this matter to me. I'm very popular and I know people over there." As soon as Yishang finished speaking, the War Devil immediately patted its chest and bowed to Yishang. What a coward who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Although Night Sorrow despised such an existence, he understood that some of the daily affairs still needed the other party to handle. Therefore, he didn't bother too much about today's matter. Then he was brought to his residence by the War Devil. This was a group of courtyards that occupied an area of 100,000 miles. There were mountains and rivers as well as some ferocious beasts. These ferocious beasts looked very ferocious on the surface, but like domestic dogs, they were used to guard the courtyard. When Night Sorrow took over this courtyard, they also began to pledge their loyalty to him. In the next few months, Night Sorrow had been cultivating in the courtyard, absorbing all kinds of resources. The daily affairs were left to the War Devil to handle. As for Baimei Sanrin, the War Devil had already inquired about him and had followed a centurion to fight. Until a year after Night Sorrow had joined the City Lord's mansion, the War Devil suddenly came to his courtyard. He said urgently, "Lord Night Devil, a month ago I led a small team to carry out a mission. But we encountered a strong enemy, and I was the only one who escaped. Please go and rescue them, Lord." "Oh? How many enemies? What's their strength?" The moment the War Devil said this, Night Sorrow was somewhat suspicious. He wondered if the War Devil was setting him up. However, after the War Devil told him everything and swore a heavenly oath, he was completely sure that the other party was not lying. The situation was like this. The War Devil led a small team to carry out a mission, and everything was going smoothly. But after completing the City Lord's mansion's mission, they unexpectedly encountered a sea dragon in the wilderness. This sea dragon was in the same realm as the War Devil, but its strength was obviously much stronger than his. When they fought, it quickly gained the upper hand. "I'll go with you to rescue them." After hearing the story, he immediately said, "Clan." Chapter 3172. How much time has passed since you escaped from the battlefield? Is your opponent that sea dragon? After leaving the governor's mansion, Night Sorrow asked. He felt that if it was just a half-step heavenly sovereign sea dragon, he could defeat all 9 of his subordinates. This kind of strength was a little too strong. Reporting to my lord, less than 4 hours have passed. Our opponent is indeed one person. He seems to be a royal of the Sea Dragon clan. He is very powerful. If he goes up against us, it will be like you going up against Jia Mao. The war demon explained, then continued, "However, if my lord and I fight together, he will definitely not be our match." "Alright. Since you said so, I have a certain understanding of his strength. However, you may not be able to find out his true strength." Yi Shang didn't say anything else and let the war demon lead the way. When Night Sorrow and the war demon arrived, they found that Sea Dragon had not left at all. He was torturing Night Sorrow's subordinates. The 8 defeated cultivators all had their cultivations sealed. They knelt on the ground, kowtowing non-stop. Sea Dragon, who had transformed into a human, was saying something with a look of disdain. When Night Sorrow had discovered him, he had not sensed Night Sorrow at all. However, when the war demon reached a position where he could observe Sea Dragon, he immediately recognized Sea Dragon. Sea Dragon immediately discovered Night Sorrow and the war demon. Seeing that the war demon had only brought along a middle earthly sovereign, Night Sorrow, Sea Dragon Aolai immediately laughed arrogantly. "Ah, I thought you would bring some reinforcements. It turns out that you are a middle earthly sovereign. Your brain wasn't fried by my attack just now, right?" His brain shouldn't have been fried. What should have been fried is your mouth. These subordinates in front of him did not have much interaction with Night Sorrow, and Night Sorrow did not want to have a deep relationship with them either. However, when he saw that they were forced to kowtow to Sea Dragon in front of him, an inexplicable anger rose in his chest. As the saying goes, one should not go too far when killing someone. This Sea Dragon in front of him had gone too far. "You, my reinforcements, are quite confident. You dare to scold this prince? Let's see how many heads you have for me to cut off." Sea Dragon Aolai was extremely arrogant. After being reprimanded by Night Sorrow, he immediately flew into a rage. "You want to kill me? I'm afraid you don't have that ability." Facing the Night Sorrow of the Sea Dragon Aolai, he didn't think much of him. This was because Aolai looked like a half-step heavenly sovereign. According to his estimation, he shouldn't be that strong. "Ah, domineering. I like cultivators like you. When the time comes, I will make your head into a wine cup and use it to drink your blood." At this moment, Sea Dragon Aolai wasn't angry. Instead he laughed. Then he used his dragon claw to grab Night Sorrow, who was in the air. "My lord, you must be careful. This sea dragon was a member of the royal family and was not easy to deal with. Even if you can defeat him, you must remember not to kill him. Otherwise we'll be in big trouble." Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to fight the sea dragon, the war demon immediately warned him. The sea dragon Aolai had just addressed him as prince, which meant that he was the Sea Dragon King's prince. If he killed him, the Sea Dragon King would definitely be enraged. At that time, the entire Sea Dragon City would be attacked. "Don't worry. I'm confident that I can take care of him," Night Sorrow replied to the war demon. Then he opened the Sea Dragon's eye and observed Aolai's attack. Aolai's claw looked simple, but it contained some mysterious runes. One look and one could tell that it wasn't simple. If it was a normal attack, it would be a huge mistake. It could be seen that the Sea Dragon Aolai, who looked arrogant on the surface, had no intention of underestimating Night Sorrow when facing an enemy. "Good move. However, this claw is nothing to me at all," Night Sorrow shouted as he faced Aolai's attack and threw out a punch. This punch contained a Tao that was similar to the Divine Finger. When it collided with the Sea Dragon Aolai's claw, the surrounding space was immediately destroyed. The shockwaves from the collision sent the kneeling cultivators flying. One could see how powerful it was. "Looks like he had his reasons for asking you to come here. You're a good target for practice." When Sea Dragon Aolai saw the might of Night Sorrow's punch, he immediately laughed. "I'm afraid you'll regret asking me to practice. Because after this battle, your confidence will be completely shattered." Seeing that the Sea Dragon Aolai still didn't think much of him, Night Sorrow immediately mocked him back. However, he also knew that the other party was the Sea Dragon King's son. He must have many tricks up his sleeve. Therefore, he didn't have the slightest bit of carelessness. "You want to shatter my confidence? First, you'll have to ask if the divine weapon in my hand agrees." When the Sea Dragon Aolai heard Night Sorrow's words, he immediately took out a halberd and stood in the air. A heavenly supreme level halberd. The war demon exclaimed when he saw the Sea Dragon Aolai take out a heavenly supreme level halberd. He was extremely worried about Night Sorrow's situation. Although Night Sorrow had dealt with him before, they were now on the same side. Isn't it just a divine weapon? Which cultivator doesn't have a few? Seeing the Sea Dragon Aolai take out a heavenly supreme level halberd, Night Sorrow immediately took out his golden heavenly halberd. At the same time he activated the Green Phoenix battle armor. These two items were both Heavenly Supreme level, and their grades were slightly higher than Aolai's Black Dragon Halberd. Seeing these items, the Sea Dragon Aolai felt like he had been slapped in the face. He sneered and said, "Good, very good. All of your divine artifacts belong to me." After roaring, the Sea Dragon Aolai waved his halberd and slashed at Night Sorrow. "You, a dragon, are using a halberd to fight against me? Where did you get your confidence from? Show me your true form." Facing the Sea Dragon Aolai's halberd, Night Sorrow, who was waving his golden heavenly halberd, didn't use any of his ultimate techniques and easily repelled it. In terms of strength, he had the complete advantage. Although the Sea Dragon Aolai's combat strength was not bad, and he was one of the best among those of the same level. However, facing a monster like Night Sorrow who could easily fight those of a higher level, he was nothing. "You asked for it." After using the Black Dragon Halberd to fight with Night Sorrow for a while, the Sea Dragon Aolai was indeed no match for Night Sorrow with his halberd. Suddenly, he transformed into a black dragon that was hundreds of feet long, and he suddenly spat out a black dragon breath at Night Sorrow. "Sir, be careful. This is the Sea Dragon's unique black dragon breath. It is filled with an extremely evil aura of resentment. If you are hit by it, you will be filled with resentment." Seeing the Sea Dragon Aolai's breath, the War Demon reminded him while dodging. "Okay, I got it," replied Night Sorrow. He felt that the War Demon was still reliable. Then he controlled the Green Phoenix battle armor and aimed it at the Black Dragon breath, spitting out fire essence. At the same time, he used the Golden Heavenly Halberd to unleash the Raging Flames Demon Slayer. Facing the Sea Dragon Aolai, he didn't have any intention of dodging. He chose to take all of them head-on. Clank. Chapter 3173. Ignorant. How dare you use your ordinary fire to attack my black dragon's breath? Just wait for my wrath to engulf you. Aolai felt that Night Sorrow was too arrogant and overconfident when he saw that Night Sorrow had chosen to fight him head-on. His black dragon's breath was a unique skill of the evil sea dragons. It was extremely powerful. Your black dragon's breath is not as powerful as you think it is. Night Sorrow, who had chosen to fight him head-on, was still very confident. According to his judgment, the Flame Mountain's flame essence should not be inferior to Aolai's black dragon's breath. After all, it had a trace of destructive aura. Although Night Sorrow did not like Mia, his opponent was still an extreme state expert. Asterisk boom. Boom. Asterisk when the flame essence and fiery demon subduing flames came into contact with the black dragon's breath, there was a deafening explosion. Wave after wave of rumbling sounds were simply earth-shattering. After the flames had completely subsided, Aolai was dumbfounded when he saw that both sides had ended in a draw. He didn't expect that his innate unique skill would be blocked so easily. Even his confidence was shaken a little. "You have some skills, but I will kill you today." At this moment, Aolai let out a loud roar and took out a dragon horn from his spatial artifact. He held it in his hand and blew. Then the dragon horn suddenly made a very strange sound. Hearing this sound, the War Demon and the rest immediately hugged their heads and wailed. Night Sorrow was also very uncomfortable. Although he did not say anything, he felt like his head was about to explode. "All of you, enter my space grotto heaven." Seeing that his subordinates were basically lying on the ground and wailing in pain, Night Sorrow immediately shouted and kept them in his space grotto heaven. At this time he had tried a few methods, but he still could not break the attack of the dragon horn. Night Sorrow thought to himself, "Looks like it. Only by killing him or taking him down can I solve this problem." Thus, he endured the pain and activated the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique again. At the same time, he activated the Green Phoenix battle armor and his bloodline power. Holding the golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he attacked Aolai with the godly spear. "You want to kill me in an instant to break the attack of the dragon horn? Wishful thinking. Do you think you can kill me so easily?" Sea Dragon Aolai was no fool. He immediately saw through Night Sorrow's intentions. Facing Night Sorrow's attack, he suddenly took out a turtle shell from his spatial artifact and draped it over his body. Even though the attack hadn't reached him, Night Sorrow could feel that Aolai's defense had increased by more than 10 times. He has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. However, his strength is still a little lacking. When Night Sorrow saw Aolai summon his tortoise shell, he sneered and cast the Divine Origin Trapping Formation. It would bind the other party within, making it impossible for him to escape. Then he used the godly spear and fiercely bombarded the defensive layer provided by the turtle shell. After all, Night Sorrow had the advantage in terms of strength. The golden heavenly halberd was a pure heavenly sovereign divine artifact. Furthermore, the divine spear's attack was extremely powerful. It immediately blasted a crack through the tortoise shell's defense. Soon after, he violently bombarded the crack. Under Night Sorrow's continuous attacks, Aolai's tortoise shell quickly dimmed. He completely realized that Night Sorrow's strength was obviously stronger than he had imagined. In terms of strength, he was indeed no match for him. As for the War Demon and the others who were in Night Sorrow's space paradise, they were very excited. They felt that Night Sorrow had helped them vent their anger. They were completely in awe of his strength. I have to admit that your strength is far beyond my imagination. However, the one who will die today is still you. Because you don't have what it takes to compete with me. Sea Dragon Aolai roared as he took out another dragon horn and blew on it again. This time, the dragon horn was no longer an attack. Instead, it summoned an army of thousands of men and horses. These creatures should have come from the Sea of Evil. Among them, there was one lower heavenly sovereign and 3 half-step heavenly sovereigns. As for earthly sovereigns, there were about 30 of them. My lord, if we can't win, let's escape immediately. When the War Demon in the space paradise saw Aolai summon so many helpers, he immediately transmitted his voice to him. Yishan replied, "There's no rush. Let's see what they're capable of. If we can't win, it won't be too late to leave. Retreating before fighting is not my style." Alright. My lord, be careful. Hearing this, the War Demon did not say anything else. Facing the sea tribe that Aolai had summoned, Night Sorrow did not retreat immediately. Instead, he adjusted his strength to the maximum and used the mysterious Azure Divine Spear technique to attack them directly. He first dealt with the earthly sovereigns of the sea tribe. In the face of his attack, the earthly sovereigns of the sea tribe were not even worth mentioning. Soon they were all annihilated. Aolai and the others wanted to protect the earthly sovereigns, but they were unable to do so. Seeing Night Sorrow kill so many of the sea tribe in front of them, Aolai was furious. Sea Dragon Aolai was completely enraged. He roared, "Kill! Let's attack together and kill him. Use your strongest techniques." Yes. Ninth Prince. The summoned heavenly sovereigns and the other 3 half-step heavenly sovereigns responded. They immediately prepared to attack. Not good. Sir, retreat quickly. They are using the superpower that the Sea Dragon clan obtained from the Eternal Sovereign Realm. The War Demon reminded them again. He knew that Aolai and the others were using the territorial superpower that they had obtained from the Eternal Sovereign Realm. The Eternal Sovereign Realm's superpower? Hearing this, Night Sorrow did not have any intention of escaping. Instead, he became more interested. To him, the territorial superpower was very tempting. The thought of capturing one rose in his heart and learning the divine ability. Green Dragon illuminating the moon. At this moment, Aolai and the others roared in unison. The 5 of them simultaneously used the Green Dragon territory's superpower, Green Dragon illuminating the moon. In an instant, they all transformed into green dragons and attacked Night Sorrow. They are actually learning the Eternal Sovereign Realm's superpower? Ridiculous. Originally, Night Sorrow was still a little afraid of their superpower. But now he saw Aolai and the others transform into green dragons and attack him. He immediately understood that these creatures in the fog could not unleash the full power of their superpower. This must have something to do with their dark aura. It's good that I can kill you. In the face of Night Sorrow's mockery, Aolai roared and attacked Night Sorrow with the other cultivators who had transformed into green dragons. Want to kill me? You are not qualified. At this moment, Night Sorrow was only a little afraid of Aolai and the Heavenly Sovereign. As for the other 3 half-step Heavenly Sovereigns, he did not care at all. This was because ordinary half-step Heavenly Sovereigns could not withstand a single blow from him. After replying, he waved the golden heavenly halberd in his hand and fought with the dragons in the void. Clang. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.